hoped that it would bring them to the quarterfinals. Now they're here, and that bet is
Zkoušel jsem
finally
jinak
starting
LED
to pay off.
světýlka,
It
ale
took
ty
them a
LED
couple of
světýlka,
sprints, but I want to show you as we get into this how this team has started to rally around this squad. And we got this clip from the Game 1 versus MKOI here at Worlds. And I want you to watch how this team sets up this play to enable Skumon for this invade. So initially, Caps gets that ward down in the jungle. But I want you to keep your eyes on then how they follow up on this. So immediately, Lebrov is going to start to shift over towards this mid lane and burn the flash on Jojo as they start to move forward throughout this. And what this is going to enable then is to have more pressure on this mid lane so Caps can continue this push. After that, we get this invade that comes through. Lebrov is going to shift from here down into the bottom side, and they're going to start to set up a bunch of vision in these bushes as they start to move through. And then after that, once they're able to spot exactly what MKOI is doing, they understand, hang on a second, we can set up these plays. Lebrov's moves down and begins to shove out this wave immediately with Hans Sama and brings Hans Sama along for the ride as they start to meet up with Skumon and Caps. So now they've got this push that's going on in the mid lane, there's a shove on the bottom side, and they're going to be able to go for the invade in towards this jungle area. And this is where they're able to make the picks, but crucially, because Jojo had that flash burned earlier, Caps is able to keep him out of the play, they're able to continue pushing this forward, and they're able to move in.
Dneska musím víc přemýšlet těma hráčema ze Stream Clashu. Včera jsem na to koukal jen tak jedním bočkem. A dneska musím na to kouknout víc. Kde se nacházím, unesli mě. A potřebuji vykupný. Včera se výkupné nevybralo.
You know, at this kind of level with that kind of cohesiveness, because TS is such an insane early game, and that early game is led by Kanavi. To me, he's the best early game jungler in the world. This guy has been insane for the entire year, and at the World Championship, he's leading everyone in first blood percentage. He's always finding creative gank angles, and when you pair that with a team that has really dominant lanes, really powerful early game, you can accelerate them to a point where you just don't get to come back. So we need to make sure that Skumon, you know, is tracking Kanavi. Is even if you're not going to be as active, you have to at least be defending your lanes and covering them.
I've seen Kanavi also described as your favorite jungler's favorite jungler. He has been named by Canyon, by Pioshik, by Tarzan as a big inspiration of someone that's always looking for a new creative angle and to push the meta forward.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult for Skumon, but this is the things that they are getting ready for. And if it was easy, then it wouldn't be a world championship, right? When we talk about TS as well, this man on your screen here, Jackie Love, who of course is a world champion, and we always equate his name with IG. But Top Esports is actually where he was brought in to get those big results.
Yeah, it's been his home for 5 years now, and he's been brought along. The team has been built around him to try and find the success, and we've seen multiple names go through this organization, but unfortunately, when it comes towards how they've been able to perform, it hasn't quite been there. But Jackie Love has been spectacular in setting them up for success. We saw his quirky play earlier on this tournament as well, and this is going to be the focal point. If Kanavi can get Jackie Love ahead in these early stages, he is a man who can carry.
True, yeah, some special history, of course, from 2018 with Caps Azael, and I'm sure that's playing perhaps on both minds. Jackie Love saying, I got the ace on you, and Caps saying, revenge today.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I do think Caps, you know, likewise, 4G2 is always the cornerstone of their success, right? This guy has been dominating EU, you know, dominating on the international stage for so many years, and he has so much experience, and a lot of the creativity that he can bring to the table, I think, is such a big part of G2's success.
Absolutely, but talking about Jackie Love, we will of course be looking at the bot lane as well. Jackie Love versus Hans Sama in our featured matchup presented by Mercedes-Benz.
Já s vámi musím to propočítat, no.
Today, in the featured matchup presented by Mercedes-Benz, two elite marksmen meet again. Europe's Hans Sama versus China's Jackie Love. For Hans, this is a chance to prove that G2's creativity and chemistry still shine. After finally escaping the Swiss stage, G2 now face an opponent they've beaten before.
Kámo, G2 dostali nejlepší draw, co mohli dostat.
When Hans and Mickey X dismantled Jackie and Mako in pure 2v2 dominance.
Jestli G2 vyhrát, tak se poseru, jako můžou vyhrát. Můžou.
But in 2025, the stage has changed. Mickey X and Mako are gone. Lebrov and Hung step in. Can these new duos shift the balance? For Jackie Love, the beating heart of Top Esports, this is redemption. TES fell 0-3 to T1 last year, haunted by inconsistency. Yet their ceiling has never been higher.
TES to the long
long list of teams that they have taken down. T1 at Worlds are Titans, and they move on to the semifinals. Will Hansama's precision keep G2's miracle run alive, or will Jackie Love reignite TES and claim long-awaited revenge?
Je to ostřejší, že to světlo, jo.
Yes, revenge in equal measure for a couple of players on the Rift today, but we got to talk about the elephant in the room, and it is TES and the results that they haven't been able to get at many of these international tournaments. For Stand also this year, famously MSI 2023 when they did lose to G2, and I think we talk about it a lot, but specifically being a Chinese team playing in a Chinese arena, Chronicler, it is one of the hardest things to do.
And there's so much that comes together here as well, because for a player like Jackie Love, who's already reached the highest that so many players literally built their entire life towards and still keep the level of performance is insane to me. And when it comes to TES, there's some here where you can go, okay, they lost to the eventual winner, but there's also matches like against G2.
Pánové, na YouTube, jestli tam hodíte like na ten livestream, na to video, budu rád. Pak to ukáže více lidem na YouTube main vole. A lidi na to můžou přijít, že to streamu i na YouTube.
You look towards making that semi-finals and those quarterfinals, and finally for Europe, finding ourselves back at this stage. It feels like where, at least for Caps, he feels he belongs.
And I mean, it's just crazy to realize this is the first time in G2's history they've made quarterfinals without Perks, Jankos, and Wonder, all three on their team. It's been a while. It's 5 years since Caps has been back to the quarterfinals, which is crazy because you're so used to him being, you know, perennial finalists or semi-finalists.
I think that's also a reason why we've seen that they do cheer for him also here in China. He has a lot of fans because of that run, but for a competitor, that's not enough. You want to keep doing it.
Víš, co mě fascinuje na těch Číňanech, že oni jako fandí hodně evropským týmům a jiným týmům než čínským týmům. To mě jako upřímně fascinuje.
In the EU, brethren. Yes,
let's go.
With 65.3%. Love to see it. So let's get into our predictions. There are so many storylines. There are so many motivations going in here. So Azael, do you want to kick us off with a...
Sure. I am favoring TES, but that being said, I definitely do think G2 can win. To me,
G2 mají šanci, Yoshi. Já bych řekl, že G2 na výhru mají tak 30% šanci.
But I do think TES has really strong early games, and I'm concerned that G2 won't be able to contain Kanavi, and they're going to get too far ahead.
For me, I also am going to put my trust in TES. If KT can cast off the shackles of the curses of their past, this time will be different, I'm telling you. They've been working on their mental, and this time they're going to make it to semis.
Nah, it's a new time for G2. I am ready. The last time these two teams faced off in a best-of-5, G2 kicked Top Esports to curb 3-0, and I think Top Esports, they do look good, so I'll give them one game. It'll be a 3-1 G2.
I gotta say, for all the trust that I have in Caps, it's just been so long, and I think with the new players on this roster, specifically Skewman and Lebrov, I don't know if I can give them the benefit of the doubt, but answer me a question. What happened when G2 got to knockouts in 2018?
Semifinals.
Semifinals beat RNG. What happened when G2 went to the quarterfinals in 2019?
They always make it out of quarterfinals.
And in 2020, G2
Šerš má 3-1, Dagda má 3-1 G2. Já jsem si dal do pikem z G2 taky, ale jako pokládal bych 3-1 pro Tes. Upřímně. Když bych byl jako hodně objektivní. 30% šance, že vyhraje G2 tuhle sérii. Ukázal vám to reklamu, že tam teďka je in-stream reklama? Jsem ji neviděl.
一笔落纸，墨深一年，挥毫请客，铸心血，写风骨，
Zase chci hrát solo queue.
收传奇。
Back in 2017, when I reached quarterfinals, I remember that the feeling was a bit unreal. We ended up going against SKT, and SKT back then was just so strong.
98% of all pick'ems have SKT taking the win and heading to the semifinal.
No one expected us to take a single game out of them in this best of 5, but we proved that we could take 1 game, 2 games.
To byla Leona s tím, s Fervorem, si pamatuju. To byl dobrý čís.
I remembered all the times I've tried.
Worked out. Unfortunately, it means 0-6 for TSM. The last vestige of the LEC!
Year after year, to finally now be in the top 8. After so many ups and downs, I finally did it.
黄金之路曾徐徐铺开，如今只能忆遥遥往事。
顾之前的成绩的话，我很接近那个荣誉吧。23年我们差一点就能拿下所有冠军吧，然后24年8强。那些都过去了，然后现在我更想专注到现在吧。
我很荣幸大家因为之前成绩而记住我。上一次夺冠已经很久了，所以我会珍惜每一次有机会去夺冠的时候。
而他们的人生曾系于一刻。Jackie Love 加冕称王 ，Caps 抱憾离场。自此，逐梦之旅始终多遇坎坷，但当荣光化作前尘，青云之志定会昂扬。
Caps， 我第一次遇到你是我第一次进世界赛的时候，你是一个非常厉害的选手。但是这一次我会带你重温18年的记忆，这一次也没什么不一样，我们会阻止你们。
Jackie Love, you can keep 2018. I'll take 2025.
To řekl dobře.
Okay, G2 win, hypotéka na G2, okamžitě všechno na G2.
G2 vyhraje, kvůli tomu jsme teď G2 vyhraje.
TS, defy your past and earn your legacy.
Dobré, Caps dal komplet gap ve flameu, You can keep 2018, I'll take 2025. Satěve. A to prostě jenom pár slovíček, jenom to tam sendnul to tam tak krásně. Dobré. Nějaká predikce na BO5? No chceš, abych měl 0 kopium a hopium, anebo... Jak říkám, G2 má tak 30% šanci vyhrát tuto sérii. 25-30% na to, že G2 vyhraje tuto sérii. Predikoval bych 3-1 Top Esports. Ale může se stát cokoliv, jo, jako G2 porazili Tes v BO1, teď je to BO3 a teda BO5. Proč jsem na to dával hypotéku? Sadil jsem všechno na G2. Před kolikrát vám říkat, když si sadíte, budete nasraní a nikdo z toho nebude mít radost. Když ty peníze pošlete mě v donatu, tak aspoň já budu mít radost. Cap se směje, je to dobré, je to dobré. Nemáme jméno, děkuji za 3 měsíce ty jedničky. Pánové, děkuji za ty tier jedničky na Worlds. Máme nejvíc tier jedniček, co jsme kdy měli, podle mě. Že 400 něco jako tier jedniček, pak jsou zbytek gifty. Takže děkuji, to je pravidelná podpora pro mě.
You absolutely have to deliver, and for Top Esports, a team who is notorious for not being able to thrive under that kind of pressure, this is a tough scenario to be in front of your own fans, the fans who were there for you during the LPL, during the season, now here on this international stage. Look, we know what the ceiling is for Top, but we've always known what the ceiling is. The question is, will we see it today?
I mean, the pressure is not that much different for the side of G2. The final hope of Europe, the first time that we've gotten out of the Swiss stage. It's been a while since we've seen a team from Europe represent in the quarterfinals, and everyone has put all of their hope and expectations on this team's shoulders.
And for North America,
raději bych tam měl Chronicla nebo Dagdara nebo...
I really like
Broken Blade hasn't forgotten his NA days.
Exactly. We trained him up, you know? I'm very much as well looking forward to the draft between these two teams.
Bibi hrál v Americe, takže vlastně je to Američan.
I really do feel like they're at their best when they're being very creative. And we've got
nové pozadí 10 z 10, děkuji. Nebojte si. Koupím si takový LED světilka, že si nasvítím tady takhle LED. Jak to má Astatoro. Nasvícené, to vypadá strašně pěkně. Tak, Popínka, Trundle, Sion. Nervíku, zdravím.
In Game 1, Top Esports do not want to allow that through the draft.
Ale nepište mi furt, že to je hnusný pozadí, já mám pak špatnou náladu z toho. A pak je horší energie na stream. Junara ban, OK, Talia ban, OK.
And Nivea, all sorts of crazy picks that we'll see if TES are prepared for.
And G2, they have to choose between Orianna, Azir, leaving them both up for the trade, but then also Kiana.
Tak je tam Azir, Orianna trade, Ryze, Aurora trade, Talia banu, Pantheon, Vi, Zinzao, Wukong, Rambo je v banu, takže co Azir, Orianna trade? Krim je dobrý Azir, ale Caps je dobrá Orianna. Oni piknou raději Oriannu first pick, aha, zajímavý. Nechcou Capsovi nechat Oriannu, protože za mě Caps je lepší Orianna než Azir. To podle mě udělají chytře, že piknou Oriannu místo... Wukong. Ne, raději piknou, upřímně jo. Raději udělají Wukonga a pak piknou buď Azira nebo Oriannu. To je lepší trade, no. A nechaj ten trade na G2. Protože tady by G2 měli Wukong Orianna nebo Wukong Azir. Co vemou do Wukonga, ale... Lepší litr nebo 10 giftů, vždycky je lepší dono. Jakmile to není pravidelný subscribe ty jedničky, tak je lepší dono než gifty. Z donatu mám v podstatě dvojnásobnou marži. Z 10 giftů mám 500 korun, z tisícovky mám 950 korun. Ale ty jedničky pravidelný jsou dobrý v tom, že to je pravidelný, víš, že to je prostě každý měsíc se to obnovuje. Fanda Emerling, díky za ten komentář na YouTube, děkuju chlape. Tak, Corki, Orianna, Wukong. Oni raději fakt piknou tu Oriannu místo Azira. Ale jako nechceš Wukong Orianna nechat, no, to je lepší kombo. Wukong Orianna je lepší kombo než Wukong Azir, ale Wukong Azir je furt broken.
Passeggio tutta sola per le strade, guardando attentamente i monumenti. La classica straniera con un'aria strana che gira stanca tutta la città.
Stlumím to trošičku, ale tyjo, děkuju. A tady vzal děkuju za Liťo. Corki Orianna. Wukong a Khalid, co? Počkej, co? Co? Wukong Varu, teda Wukong Akali Varus? Oni nechávají Azira na příští hru? A zejzal děkuji moc za Líťo. Máš to tam, pane, děkuji, chlape, děkuji. Máme dobrou hodinovku dneska, chat. A tyjo, někdo jiný než Safarič a Shakilský posílá peníze. Akali jsem nečekal do Oriany, no, ale je to zatím dobrý. Nemají CC. Oriana, Corki, Zin je dobrý teamfight combo, ale nemají CC na tu Akali. Musí nějakou dobrý CC na... Teď o tom mluví ten Castr taky. Musí nějaký CCčko na 4-5. A Varus... Zajímavý draft, úplně unconvenční. Já už si obral studentskou pozičku a co, Nautilus je dobrý, Alistar je v pohodě, Rakan je mega dobrý. Rakan je mega dobrý. Ale uvidíme, jestli to piknou. Nebo jestli to nezabanou. Alistar je v banu, Nico je v banu. Oni si zabanovali Rakana, ok. Jo, nechceš nechávat Rakan Wukong, no. A Rakan není moc dobrý do Wukonga, protože Wukong ho cancelne. Co vemou? Rekorel tady bude dobrá s Orianou. Oriana Rel je mega dobrá.
Top Esports, though, still contemplating the Bard going to be the target. Labrov not having the most impressive Bard performance, but they're still cautious of dealing with it because of how effective it can be. Moving around the map and also locking down Avaris.
Yeah, and also the defensive Bard ultimates.
Já hrál Nautilus, no, vyber si. Raději bych hrál Rel než Nautilusa.
Don't be baited by this.
Don't be baited.
Lepší je Rel z toho Orianu, no. Xante blind pick taky je possible a counter picknout supporta. Taky real. Ty ale G2 má front to back compact hovado. Braum, just Braum blind ping, boom. Braum je problém, no. Ale my potřebujeme nějaký CC na Akali, my nemůžeme mít Brauma. Co do toho vemou, do toho Barda, teda Brauma. Bard je v banu, Nico je v banu, Rakan je v banu. Je blbý, že si G2 zabanovali Rakana, no. Ambessa, ty píčo, tak jako to je crazy, jako Akali, Ambessa, Wukong, AD carry nehraje videohru.
And we saw how effective Peter was yesterday with just blast cone Braum to be able to find engages, but it really does.
Tady bych reálně hrál tanky Korkio. Že tanky Korki by tady byl broken, imo. Protože by nemohli zabít ani Orianu, ani Korkio, protože by oba staví tanky, tam je reálně jasná, no. Jako Vombo, combo G2, scaleu jak hovada, pohlídat si ale fakt Ambessu a Wukong a Kaliflank. Tady týpci budou triple flankovat Korkio a Orianu. Oriana postaví Rod of Ages, takže bude v pohodě. Rod of Ages, Seraph's Embrace a týpek je nesmrtelný, protože midlane je balance. Kámo, midlane je tak broken teďka. A Korki leží, a kdybych byl Korki, tak postavím Trinity Force, Muramanu a postavím Spear of Soujin, abych měl HPčka ze Spear of Soujin a Trinity Force. A pak bych postavil Bloodmail, abych fakt legit byl prostě 4000 HPčkový hovado, který když Ambessa, Wukong a Kalina flashujou, tak ho nezabijou. A co budou dělat, víš co? Ten damage tam máš z Oriany anyways, Xanteho a ze Zina anyway.
It's standard, you know why they're picking it, but they're not leveraging the same innovative picks that they have in the past, which means they're going to need to be
ADC je broken, neviděl jsi si, Viper čistě 1v vydával. Viper je nejlepší AD carry na Worlds a stejně jak nevyhrál. Tu sérii. Chudák.
I think even if you are a creative team, you are incentivized in game number 1 to
ta arena je hrozně pěkná, ale zvenku se mi líbí ta arena v té Šanghaji. Tak jo, kdo si myslíte, že vyhraje? Samuel a Matěj Mužík, díky za ty membry na YouTube. To jsem dlouho neviděl, děkuji pánové.
LPL teams in the tournament up against the last LEC team.
Tak, já přepnu scénu. No to je skvělý, Sobičku, děkuji za kilo, chlape. Můj první donate ever, tak komu jinému. Děkuju.
Můj první donate ever, tak komu jinému. Menší než 3.
Děkuju, Sobičku, děkuju. Ty level 1 už se fightí, vardí se, aby zjistili pathing. Ještě budou chtít zjistit, jestli se bude lane swapovat nebo ne, protože Korky může lane swapovat. Proti Axante taky, že G2 tady by reálně mohli swapnout. Já bych tady swapnul G2, že bych poslal Korka na top lane, ale Korky zůstává na botu. Počkej, že by ho vzali, ale bacha na Brauma, bacha na Brauma, bacha na Brauma.
Winner's bite will hit, but the piercing arrow goes a tiny bit wide, so neither side getting a greater advantage here. Important
Rako, díky za 125.
Ty jsi kokot, fakt vyjebanej, ty se mrde.
Sahur! Bum, 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 to je za alert, kurva. Co je, Rako, díky, chlape, děkuju. Děkuju. Tak, jak jsme na tom? Tradí se, hraje se docela jako na to, že to je první hra BO5, tak se hraje docela agresivně. Tak, škrabu se na levý kouli, nebo je... Nebo zařídil jsem to už, je to v pohodě. Kamo, já furt nevím, co s tím Korkin. Ten Korkin nebude prostě dobrý ve streamer Clashi, že ne? Já potřebuji začít skrimovat se svým týmem. Já potřebuji ten draw a potřebuji ten první týden hodně skrimovat, abych zjistil, co bude dobrý za čampy. Level 3 gang. Kanávy, ty hovado. Ale Kanávy má nejvíc first bloodů na tomhle turnaji. On hit Varus býval dobrý ve streamer Clashi, hrozně dobrý, protože si stavěl ty tank itemy, že jo? A měl si damage do top lanerů, protože stavíš Blade Kinco a máš... Jako on hit Varus, vyzkoušíme on hit Varus, actually, ve scrimech. Pravá koule, škrabu pravou kouli, nebo? Kama, co ty kluky mají oni, vole?
Jackie Love and Hung had some really nice trades, forcing Hansama back.
Hans musel do báze, ale vzal si týrku, to není špatný. Zatím slušná hodinovka, jo, je to tak. Zatím výborná hodinovka. Ale vlastně včera jsem streamoval kolik, 9 hodin, 10 hodin? A na mě jde sraní, hoši. Na mě jde sraní a Bibi tady dostává dive. To je, Bibi, pojď, outlane to, jsi Xante, bro. Nemůžou tě zabít, nic ti nemůžou udělat, bro, neboj se vůbec. Jsi Xante.
This is very reminiscent of their first game of this tournament. We saw top esports with great pressure in the early game.
Konami set
his sights onto Broken Blade, and while he was working with his bot lane in that previous game, right now he's working with 369 to cover and threaten a dive. Top esports
kladívko necháme doma.
But early gold lead.
Yeah, plus when you go position for a top lane dive like that, you know, you can't leave wards behind.
Já to vydržím.
They are going to have full information on the reclears. Both junglers, though, of course, know the respawn orientation.
Potřebuji Cartmanovou maminku, aby mě donesla bathroom. Bobek? No, Bobek, no. Ještě, že se v té hře nic neděje. Děkuji za donaty. Každopádně poprosím, pokud se v té hře začne něco dít, tak to nepřehánějte. Ať nám to nekazí zážitek ze hry, jestli mě chcete podpořit, tak ideálně mezi hrama, to je nejlepší způsob. Ale nic moc se v té hře neděje, takže je to v pohodě. Bude tady dráčátko první, potom grubíci, to jsou klasický, to je klasický postup League of Legends, kámo, ale Jackie jako smurfy na tom botu. A Hans je zase minus, to je free drak, kvůli tomu mají zadarmo draka. Ty lidi mu posílají peníze a ještě si bude stěžovat, ne, tak strašně moc lidí nadává, když mi přichází peníze. Asi závidím, já nevím. Když je to in-game. Počkej, to nezabije Bibi. To nezabije, ne? On má šestku! On dostal level up, takže to bylo mega dobrý. On byl level 5, ne? Nešalil mě zrak, že byl level 5 a pak umřel minion a z toho měl level 6 a kvůli tomu vyhrál a forcnul flash. To bylo mega dobré. On věděl, že je jeden creep away a že ten creep umře a začal ho all-inovat tak 10 vteřin před tou šestkou. To si zapamatujte, chat, to je mega dobrá strategie na linku. Většinou z toho padne flash nebo kill. Funguje to jak na bot lane, tak na mid lane, tak na top lane. Ať hrajete jakoukoliv hrajete roli, tak je to super.
The poke Varus, the lane very strong, and then looking to just add the execution, little bits of damage from the long range, in the way that these team fights are going to go later for them, with all the divers that TES do have. If you just have a little bit of extra execution damage over the top.
Hans dostává gapnuto od G2 botlane dostává gapnuto. Už dvakrát museli baseovat.
We've crested the level 6 mark for both mid laners, and this is where Caps needs to be careful. The window on this flash being down is very small. TES may try to capitalize, but we know post level 6 is where Akali really starts to take over.
But ultimately, from Cream's perspective, the kind of battle has already been won, because
jak funguje Kal? Vlastně Kal ty to koupí za 450 goldů a ono ti to za každý kill dá jeden gold, jeden gold a potom když to finishneš, tak ti to dá 350 goldů, takže ti to dá 450 goldů. A pak to prodáš za 178 za každýho kill miniona, no. Takže ty v podstatě koupíš item za 450 goldů a ten item ti dá jenom 180 bonusových goldů. Protože ty to prodáš, když to prodáš, tak ti to dá 180 goldů. Protože když to tak bereš, ty utratíš 450 goldů za item, který stejně prodáš. Ne? Nebo jak je ta matematika? Ne, beru to, že ti to dá peníze, ti to dává goldy, víš, ten Kal. Že ti to dává hit za miniona, to je k ničemu. Tak to ten item není zase tak dobrý, ne, ten Kal. Profit je 180 goldů, no tak to je hovnu, ne. Profit 180 goldů na Kalu a sníží a odebereš si jakoby to finishnutý item o 450, reálně si deal než 450. Oni tady fightí, Oriana tu není. Mají level 6, Tes mají level 6. Pozor, mají aspoň jednoho. A zdrhejte, no. Ano, tady to bylo takový jakože nebezpečný, ale zároveň fightable, ale problém je Brown, víš. Problém je Brown tady. Kdo má lepší late game? No jednoznačně. Actually, late game je even. Kvůli Akali a Ambesse a Wukong je... Jako Ambessa outscale Xanteho. Wukong outscale Zina. Ale ne o moc.
He just lost like half a wave, if not the whole wave, as he tried to contest that
Kamo Hanse, ale choky to. Choke sama. Dostává gap od Jackyho.
But then as a full level difference, there is about 3 waves between the two of them, and Jakilov has basically a kill of an advantage over his lane opponent. And remember, this Lethality Virus will spike earlier than the
taky ahead na lince, 400 goldů, to je šíleně. To má z plátu, nebo z čeho? To ze 7 CS, to není možný. To má z plátu. Kolik vzala plátu? Pamatujete si minulý streamer Clash, ne? Že Varus, on-hit Varus byl mega dobrý, protože to prostě dokázal si zabít ty feedly top jungle midaře, protože máš Blade a on-hit ten W. A ještě si stavil terminus Jackshot, takže tě nedokázali one-shotnout. Si pamatuju, že to bylo dobré.
Yeah, I think both of these G2 carries have to be very cognizant of their positioning, approaching objectives. TES,
wow.
If there's one angle approaching the team fight that is left in darkness, they could get a massive
Na Varu se můžeš koupit i zóny, můžeš, no.
Delete one of these G2 carries, so have to be very, very cautious.
Ten champ je broken v tom, že můžeš stavět tyhle itemy.
Look at these lane assignments from Top Esports. They've got 369. Ooh, getting engaged.
Flash engage. Minus, ale týpek je nesmrtelný. Není tam damage. Ty dva levely advantage ti dají prostě 300-400 HP. 400 HP Ambessa má navíc. Dobro. Nemá jump, je minus. First blood. 1100 goldů. Ta botlane je worrying, ta botlane je worrying. Jako tyjo, přijde mi, že strašně čokujou G2 botlane. Ale jakože hrozně.
G2 don't respect it, and it becomes a very easy first blood for Top.
Yeah, I mean there are double control words here for TES.
Han se někdy probere a prostě čokuje a někdy nečokuje. Já to nechápu toho týpka, ale Han sama byl známý tím, že dřív vždycky čokoval. Ale to je tak 6 let zpátky. Na začátku jeho kariéry on čokoval každý playoff. On prostě byl nejlepší AD carry mimo playoff, tak jak Upset. On byl nejlepší AD carry mimo playoff a pak chokoval playoff. Akorát Upsetovi to zůstalo a Hansovi ne. To znamená, že chokuje. Choking je term proto, že ty vlastně jsi tak vystresovaný, že si necháš ovlivnit tou emocí a hraješ už. Ještě prostě ovládaj emoce.
Caps down below 50% and earns the objective pretty effortlessly.
And it feels like a repeat of what we saw in the first game of Swiss. Top Esports finding these early leads, G2 not really having many options to trade back elsewhere on the map. And Top Esports are playing with these advantages very, very well. They've accrued a 1K goal.
Ten draft, co mají G2, tak je dobrý teamfight draft, ale podle mě se to nehodí proti Tes. Tam by potřebovali, víš co? A ještě to dají Akali, pane bože, oni jsou chytří. To je mega dobře, že to dali Creamovi. Hrajou dobře. A Labrov čouky to.
Good shot calling. I would give it a Cream too.
I mean, once he pressed TP, they were like, "You came all this way. Yeah. We may as well give you a parting gift."
Exactly. Then he's more likely to come down the next time.
I just say I'm concerned for G2 when we're referring to their.
Tam jsem se trochu bál, že dá Akali ult na Korgio a Korki musí flashovat.
But Top Esports with full control over this early game right now. And again, it really is just reminiscent of what we saw in their first matchup. Especially when you look at the itemization, going for Rod of Ages,
Profi týmy mají kouče, no, mentální kouče.
G2 need to stem the bleeding as much as possible.
Ale ty vole, jako ty piče, jako, to je problém, ten Varus. Aj, Akali. Aj.
The E2, the second half of the Shuriken flipper, that could have been a kill, but still costs the flash and ultimate from Caps.
Podle mě proti Tes potřebuješ prostě early game, mid game draft a fightit všechno, co oni fightí. Jinak oni ti vemou každý objektiv, budou fightit všechno a ty prostě nedáš outscale. Jo, tady to vidíš, že oni prostě fightí každý objektiv. Hrozně dobře mají, jako laní hrozně dobře. Labrov ale jde, Labrov běží, Labrov nemá flash ale. Takže tady asi zabijou jenom Henga. No, Caps to veme. Hans tu je zase a ztrácí celou vlnu na midu. Oni fajtí. Akali tu nemá ult, ale Ambessa tu ult má, ale.
And it's not just the mid laners taking the kills, the junglers as well.
Top Esports see two members of G2 walk up into the river and say, "Didn't you just use everything to kill our support?"
I guess that means that it's our turn. And so Top Esports
Ještě asi možná vemou mid turretu eventuálně s Grubem. Teda s tím za Heraldem. Jo, proč se mi chce hrát lolko, když to vidím ty první hry? Já bych tam Q okamžitě bych tam zapnul lolečko. Q up. Jak by řekl Jankos? Q up. Vyjebanej Cream, kámo, to je v piči. Jako Akali, když prostě je even proti Orianě a ještě ty vole dostane kill, tak je to GG.
Truly a perfect execution there from Cream. He didn't even lose any of his HP.
Ty vole, no se nám to rozpadá, jak domeček z karet, my úplně chokujem. Ztrácíme vlny úplně všude, kde můžeme ztrácet vlny. Tureta minus, Cream smurfí na kapse. Naše botlane chokuje. Ty vole, to ne. To ne.
TESA, fine, you can have the pick of the tournament, Orianna. We will craft
a ten první hraje to warm-up.
And because of that, Cap says, okay, I need to build more tanky because they have so much dive. But then that's going to push back your timeline on when you're going to have, you know, some damage threat as well. And TS making a very good use of the early stages of this game. Definitely something that people have said a lot about TS. Very good early games, very frequently.
Top Esports, they are a much more methodical team. They play the map very well. Having Kanavi as kind of your spearhead makes a lot of sense as to why that playstyle works. And again, we turn our attention to the minimap and look at the control that they have. Cream is not afraid of anything. There's nothing he needs to be afraid of anything. Like no one on the side of G2 can kill him, so he can afford to overstep his bounds. But even if he can't, he's got a turret at his back. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, heavy
ten Ezreal přijde takový slanej nemastnej. Neslanej nemastnej.
They have push everywhere.
Tak bojuj, ne, G2. Tak bojuj. Doufám, že budou bojovat.
G2, they have to keep Orianna safe with extra players, and so nobody can really handle all of the side lane pressure that TS can put out. TS, they can constantly push both side lanes.
G2, they have to group and force.
G2 ignoring top side, letting that wave.
Kámo, potřebujeme se nějak scalovat, potřebujeme nějak jako víc itemů, ale problém je, že prostě ani Korky tak dobře nescaluje. Wukong, Freeman, ok. Zim přežívá. Mají Wukonga? Wukonga mají? Bacha na Ambesu, bacha na tu sviní vyjebanou. Proč tam Ambesa 1v2? Počkej, mají Akali. Dojel! Kapsito! Pojď, vole! Pojď, Kaps! Ty pičo, okej. Labrov to tam zařídil, Foreman, Rel, ultimátka, ale furt jsou 30 goldů ahead potom. Počkej. Tady to, Wukong to trochu na intí, sleduj. Wukong jde in. Zin tady strašně dobrá ultimátka, nemají damage, nemůžu dát damage. Kanavi minus okamžitě. A teď, vole, Ambesa Akali, vole, tam Ambesa Akali, tam prostě, Ambesa tam one-shotne Zina a i Korkyho, to je strašně opečam. Labrov, boom. Nádhera. Tyjo, škoda, že ještě nezabil Jackieho. Si kdyby zabil Jackieho, tak by to bylo dobré. Dobré, fajtí se, pak poděkuju. Bacha na Ambesu. S kým on necháte jen tak zabít? Vy jste normálně, bro. Nemohli to fajtit do něho, oni se bojí, bojí se. Dobrý poke. Orianna nějaký poke, OK. Fajtíme. Normálně G2 bojuje, guys. G2 bojuje. Orianna je huge, už má vole 2 tank itemy, a.k.a. damage. Teď je Orianna, tank jeho vado a má největší damage ve hře. Ještě Korky, aby ty vole postavil Spear of Soji nebo něco. T-Night, děkuju chlape za 1000 korun. Promiň, že jsem to skipnul, ale fightilo se. Fightilo se, děkuju chlape. Alert přehraju po hře, neboj. Ať si tady lidi užijou Pedra, že jste jí poslal Pedra. Moc děkuju za stream, vážím si tvého názoru na hru. Ještě jednou díky a hezký den přeji. T-Night, děkuju. To není placený komentář, jo? To není placený dono. Tomu týpkovi jsem neposlal 1000 korun, aby mě to poslal a ještě napsal pěknou wholesome zprávu. To je reálný můj fanoušek, který mě se rozhodl podpořit takhle velkým donem. Fakt. Ty najde ještě jednou, děkuju chlape. A neboj, alert přehraju. Jakmile bude prostor. Tyhoši, začínáte se mi líbit takhle jako líťo dono. Od dvou jiných lidí než Šakilský a Safari, to je přesně to, co chci vidět na svém streamu. Pojď, ale Oriana ult na Brauma, jenom na Brauma, utíkej. Oni půjdou Atakana, borci půjdou Atakana, oni půjdou Atakana, protože nemají Oriana bol. Nepůjdou?
Top Esports doing really good job at controlling this space. The poke from Jackie Love, the poke coming through from Cream, knowing that he has the assistance of Hong. They keep G2 at arm's length, but they don't yet start the objective. They want to get the tower.
Já ti děkuju, chlape, já ti děkuju. Dneska se rozhodl hodně mě podpořit. Level 14 Ambessa. Wukong je level 12, což je dobrá známka, že není feedlay Wukong. Ztrácí vole 40 vln na topu, ale G2. A najednou jsou 4000 goldů ahead. 3100 goldů ahead, 4000 goldů. Kdo to pušnul na tom topu takhle deep, že to ztrácí vlnu? A jak to udělali?
Mid lane is being pushed in by 369. Advantages are just passively being built by Top Esports. Remember, G2 won that fight in mid.
Level 14 Ambessa, kurva. Oni to zase budou forsovat, to není dobrý, to není dobrý. Nebo je to dobrý? Imo, není to dobrý. Imo, není to dobré. To není dobré. To není dobré, guys, to není dobré. Jestli to nevanshotnou, tak to není dobrý. Ani to nevanshotnou, to není dobrý. Ambessa TP, to není dobrý. One-shot her. Ne, tady jsou group tap jak hovado. One-shotí tu Ambessu. Ta Ambessa!
The triple kill for the Akali. G2 are helpless in the face of this Top Esports die. He's rolling all nines today.
Kámo, my jsme se nechali vystresovat, tak El Clasico. My se necháme vystresovat tím, že prostě že ztratíme 40 vln na top lane. Že tam spálíme 4 vlny na top lane, tak musíme začít Atakana. A začít Atakana, který ti redukuje armor a magic resist, je illegal. Ano. Hej, jakoby 300 goldů za 700 goldů. Nebo? Ne, veme to anyway.
The fact that G2 had no recourse, no escape as they get picked apart.
Tady měli zdrhat, ale ty vole, oni dostali bait od Redemptiona, že on dal Redemption a týpci zkoušeli zůstat v Redemption. To bylo mega int. A ta Ambessa, co tam dělá, to je prase, ten champion. To je hovado.
Cream played that beautifully, using Skumon's flash, going over the water, then get a multi-man execute. Very well played by him. The frustration on Dylan Falco's face and the elation from the Top Esports coaching staff.
You know how when Yagao said two
carries, ale tohle je fakt jako to se nechali, G2 se nechali vystresovat a začali Atakana úplně na piču. Jenom kvůli tomu, že prostě na sidelane ztrácíme fakt třeba 5 vln po sobě, že tam prostě 369 gapnul sidelane management.
8,000 gold deficit. TES grabbing the third Drake and Soul Point. G2 in no position to contest. But remember, that Otacon was built on an early game from TES that was so commanding, that was so confident. That was already a Hail Mary for G2. And frankly, at this point, Hail Marys are all they have left.
I mean, I've been super impressed with how Jackie Love has really gotten his revenge on Hans Sama after last year. Kareem coming out with the comfort pick and just, as you mentioned earlier, Kobe, Orianna Azir has kind of been the trade of the tournament, and Cream saying, you know what, no, I know Akali is good into this matchup. With the Wukong by my side, I know I can do some serious damage. 8-1 and 4.
Týpci podle mě potřebují G2, potřebují draftnout prostě early game, mid game comp, který bude vyhrávat a fightit všechno Tes. Protože Tes prostě, oni hrajou jako clean a nedáš comeback proti ním. Ty pičata, Ambessa a Wukong. Ale dívej, jak je Orianna nesmrtelná actually. Protože má ty dva tank itemy. Já říkám tank itemy, jo, protože si z toho dělám prdel, ale to jsou normálně legit mage itemy, kteří prostě jsi nesmrtelný s nima. Okay. Ambessa, mají vůbec damage na to zabít to Ambessu? Nemají. Crazy, že... Hey!
Top Esports run this map and G2 are barely given the luxury of standing on the rift. Top Esports take as many camps as they can.
Co to bylo? Prezentace o KT fanouškách.
They secure themselves another tower. Everything going the way of TES.
They have remained
mě prostě, oni to tam dělají naschvál. Tam je někdo, kdo to dělá naschvál. To není možné, aby tam dávali takovýhle věci furt.
Is to go claim the Baron. They have very good turn off of Baron. We have seen it with Wukong and Ambessa. The turn is crazy threatening. 369 though, he's still out on the map.
Level 16 Ambessa, týpek má 2 itemy a je nesmrtelný. To už ho zabijou, ne? To už ho zabijou, ne? Guys! Buff top lane? A Wukong Foreman ultimate kanon. Je zlé. Kamu můžou nerfnout top lane fast, jako halo.
Staying living for a brief moment. Redemption now coming in. The extra healing from Thunder Sky will not do a damn thing. Broken Blade down, an ace for TES.
Absolutely beautiful from Top Esports once again. Cream went in a little bit too eager. He was isolated from his team, but the moment that Kanavi finds the angle onto the back line, G2 just fall apart.
Yeah, this is one way to start a fight. Just keep on split pushing and
Ne, můžu se na to dívat, jak je broken top lane. Tak, tady už to můžu nechat, Tady už to můžu nechat, to je hra over. Užijte si Pedra. T-Night to poslal po druhé, T-Night děkuju, chlape. Tak, teď si mi zlepšil náladu, když G2 mi úplně dojebali a top lane mi úplně... Actually, G2 mi nedojebali, prostě jenom top lane, jak je broken, mi to dojebala. Ale jo, dojebali mi tu náladu tím, že prostě se nechali chouknout do Atakana. Oni se nechali tak chouknout do toho Atakana. Wukong 4400 damage, dámy a pánové. To není jungle, to je hyper carry. Dneska bude na voltík, no, neudělal jsem si jídlo. Ty najde ještě jednou děkuju za 2. Líťa, chlape. Ty Knight pochopil zadání, že je lepší nesázet na G2 a poslat ty peníze mě.
I don't think he needed to go back in.
1100 goldu je hodně. 1100 goldu je hodně. Exhaust na hyper carry. Počkej, že by to tady by to thrownuli, kdyby šli in. 10 000 goldů.
G2 found a pick at this point. A pick is the best thing that you can hope for this late into the game. It will slow down Top Esports a little bit.
Já děkuju za stream, to je hodně milý poděkování, chlape, děkuju. Ten jeden alert ještě to přehrál.
Anyone?
I think it's worth. I would say worth.
In that situation in the game, that is worth. Because you actually
chce zabít Varusa a ten kill musí získat Oriana asi. Actually. 369 behind. 369 behind. Bam. 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 Playable. Playable. AD's having fun. 4 levely behind. Top lane balance. Level 18. Kamo, Ambessa je Riven na steroidech. Proč bys někdy hrál Riven, když můžeš hrát Ambessu? Víš co, týpek má 3 itemy, má 2 killy, prostě halo. Level 18, halo. Kork je level 14.
The dominance from Swiss was not a one-time thing. G2 sent back to the drawing board as TES run a victory lap around Summoner's Rift.
And Shanghai is popping off with
a Ambessa je fakt jednoduchý čam docela.
Dominant from TES.
Kork je vodoven, Korky nemá damage, no.
Nothing but control from the side of top
a to pikneš proto, abys nedostal one-shot, a stejně ten one-shot dostaneš.
But really just the individual lanes from top esports really got the better of G2 here in game 1.
And this is what we were thinking, will G2 be able to stall?
No, warm-up, byl to warm-up, nebo to nebyl warm-up?
The answer in game 1 was no. We'll have to see how they adapt as we send it back over to the analyst desk.
Jackie Love saying, did you remember MSI?
Kamo, Jackie gapnul Hansamu jakože extrémně. To byl choke sama.
Did you think it was going to be any different? Because to me, Rap, it did seem like the same strengths that Top Esports had and the same weaknesses that G2 had in that game came also out here.
Yeah, I think it was hyper playing to the strengths of Top Esports, because one of the things, especially when you look at Cream, back when he was making his name on OMG, he was the Silas the Akali player. And to take what has been the meta of this Oriana and Azir back and forth and go, no, we're going to break that open by having our creme de la creme Cream plays Akali was such a good call from Top Esports.
Kamo, Akali proti Oraně je dog shit v tom moment, protože ty vemeš Doran's shield second wind a seš even.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was a really fun game. I think there was a lot of back and forth fights, but it was very TS favored. I do want to go into a banger team fight we had for our HyperX Reflex replay, and I want to draw your eyes here to Kanavi. Kanavi is going to ride this in, and we have to watch Broken Blade and his timing on the Pathmaker, so we can play out the clip.
Nebojte, chat, zahrám Pedra, zahrám
so nice here from BB. This gives an opportunity at a position in the game where G2 was looking like it was already cooked. If they lose this fight, if they lose the next dragon, they are going to lose. Look at that timing right there.
To není typek tady mele úplný hovna, říká, ty pičo, BB timing, vole, tady je jediný co, tak Wukong se rozhodl jít in, když nemusel jít in. Tady Wukong nemusel vůbec jít in. Kdyby nešel in a nenaintil to, tak se nic neděje. A týpek, ty pičo, BB Goat. Klasický analysta, co tomu nerozumí. Proto ho nemám rád tady toho týpka.
Very good. They kind of have their support and their top laner there. They have their backline in the backline. It's looking pretty nice. We can play the clip one more time. Kanavi does fall, but that is when 369 gets in onto Hans, able to knock him down. Cream is piling in.
Čeká Ambessa, Wukong a Kalino, mně je zle.
But LeBron finds a moment here to set up for that 4-man shockwave for Caps. And that, yes, it does not just swing the game massively in their favor,
kolik to bylo minut, tady se zase někdo sadil na minuty, vy jste fakt gambleři, to je hrozný.
It showed, you know, that glimmer of hope for G2 in a game that was very TES favored.
I appreciate you for showing us the glimmer of hope in the rest, that wasteland of that
game. Ten hrál by toho Wukonga hodil pryč, dostal by BB to cancelnul. No to je sice pravda, Sobíku, ale jediný důvod, proč ta situace byla dobrá pro G2 je, protože Wukong pak engagenul 4 lidi tím, že skočil in. On má skok in, má 2 skoky a on použil 2 skoky na to, aby šel in. Místo toho, aby použil jeden ten skok away a nic by se nestalo. Jackie Love je problém. A 369 je problém.
And we're already starting to fall behind at that stage. So I think if you're coming into game number 2, it does make me worried that the Corki, who was the neutralizer for that bot lane, didn't work. And then, even if it was a slower...
Hey guys!
As Top Esports were waiting for that level 6, they still were able to find these moments. So I think it's about finding comfort in that bottom lane, so then we don't end up start falling too far behind as G2, but also then finding ways where we can be a bit more proactive in the early stage from our jungle.
And if we look back to how they did win at MSI, it was because of the bot lane. They had huge advantages. Is that the difference between Mickey X and Labrov? You gotta ask the question.
I mean, we'll have to see. They didn't make it to the World Quarterfinals last time with Mickey, so we gotta give that credit over. But the bot lane was extremely dominant. Also loved how they got Cream involved. Had this counter pick. He TP's
ale Akali 30 000 damage je úplně crazy. Když veme, že to je nulový poke. Varus tam bude mít tak 15 000 poke. Z linky, už no, Caps vypadá jako, že mega tilt. Tady to bylo zlý. Dívej, co tam bylo. Šakelské, děkuju za 500. Kluci, vy mi dneska děláte radost. Vy mi děláte radost. Když ne G2, tak vy. Ježok. Ježok, Šakelské, děkuju. Tak já vám pustím Pedra teda. Máte ho tady. Dneska se vybere výkupný možná. Jak hodnotíš tuhle hru? Byl jsem u Snappyho. G2 si pikli outscale comp s prohrávajícíma linkama proti týmu, který je nejvíc agresivní early game tým na Worlds. Kanavě má nejvíc first bloodů na celém Worlds. A doufali, že dají comeback. Za mě validní strategie, ale...
Já miluju Minecraft, je to můj svět, ve kterým jsem rád. Já rád těžím kousou, diamanty a redstone. Minecraft miluju, je to lepší svět, než ten, ve kterým žiju. A hlavně tam nejsou žádný bossy. Chci žít ve světě Minecraftu. Chci žít ve světě Minecraftu.
Ty piče, dal bych Minecraft, nebudu lhát.
Chci žít ve světě Minecraftu.
Počkej, tak ten alert, já si musím ten alert pustit znova, protože to bylo, nebylo to nahlas. A Zejzel, ty blázne, ty jsi přehodil, ty Nighta. Děkuju. Ještě jednou, ještě jednou.
Já rád těžím kousou, diamanty a redstone. Minecraft miluju, je to lepší svět, než ten, ve kterým žiju. A hlavně tam nejsou žádný bossy. Chci žít ve světě Minecraftu. Chci žít ve světě Minecraftu. Chci žít ve světě Minecraftu.
A proč vlastně nejsi u Snapu? Vy jste pohádaní, se Snapem chápu, jak blázen. Ale tak jak jsem říkal jemu, tak řeknu i vám, já když streamuju sám, tak mi sem chodí donaty a ty jedničky. Když jsem u Snapyho, tak za celý stream nepřijde ani jedna ty jednička, ani jeden donate. Takže je to prostě, chápeš, je to můj job a já se Snapem rád castím, vždycky tam hodím třeba dva casty za ten event, ale prostě je to blbý. Je to blbý, nemám to prostě, jak tam nejsou ty moje alerty, tak lidi tam nejsou in fight k tomu něco poslat a je to prostě blbý. Ja. Takže tak. Prostě peníze. Si řekni o 37,5%, jo. A Zejzele, děkuju za ten Minecraft, ty chlape. Jsem ani nevěděl, že tam ten alert je. Chat, já potřebuji prostě být ve Forbesu a koupit si nový byt a koupit si nový auto. Abych nebydlel na intráku nebo v důchoďáku, vy se mi tady smějete, že jsem v důchoďáku. Až bude nový byt a nový auto, tak pak nemusím řešit peníze. Prostě Aleš Penížek teďka vede, ano. Colors so real, every scene, every smile, unforgettable. Oppo, Find X9 series. Jinak to je dost smutně, že ten vlastní brat je byl do důchoďáku. Ne asi Laco, kámo. Od 16 jsem ho živil. Od 16 se ho živím. A v momentě, kdy on začne dělat doktora a začne vydělávat těžký lové, tak mě hned mrdne do důchodového domu. Prostě to je tak smutný. Si půjdu asi pro čokapik. Oni tady mají tady takový ten levný čokapik v důchoďáku. Zatím dobrá mňamka.
It's ARAM.
Jdu si pro to.
It combines all the fun augment-fueled variations of Arena with 5v5 ARAM gameplay.
We want every champion to feel special and get to explore some combinations and fantasies that they don't normally get outside of Arena.
It'll be live with patch 2521, so look forward to some mayhem coming to the bridge soon.
Může mi někdo vysvětlit, jak to, že ten čokapik má normálně nutriční hodnotu B nebo A? Že tady máš, vole, Nutri-Score A, B, C, D, E a má to Bčko. To někde podplatili, nebo proč to má Bčko? Dá G to aspoň jednu mapu. Já bych čekal, že G to dá že Tes vyhraje 3-1, už jsem to říkal. Darksis, děkuju za ty rinčku, chlapé. Jo, že oni to prostě... Počkej, že Nutri-Score se počítá, že se porovnávají stejné produkty. Aha, tak to je úplně odhoven.
Welcome back to Worlds 2025. We are in the midst of the quarterfinal between G2 Esports and Top Esports. And I'm going to tell you, Top Esports came out swinging an incredibly dominant game one. But we saw the players come out, and the moods didn't seem too bad.
Yeah, I mean, we are on the floor, and Caps walked pretty much directly right next to us. And he gave us a fist bump and a smile. So...
I mean,
the Western Goat is still in there.
The spirits definitely still seem high, of course, from their perspective. You know, the series just started late. Still 3 games left to play. But we'll see if they can bounce back, because Top Esports looked ferocious in game one, as Poppy once again makes its way onto the ban list. Talia alongside it. Remember, G2, given their loss, did get side selection remaining on the red side.
Sticking to it. Poppy, Talia, you already highlighted. Yunara, Sion. It seems like the bans are staying pretty consistent. Rumble was the final ban for G2. So
need to see very
Trundle,
high priority now.
The other champion that Top Esports chose to ban in game one. So small adaptations now that we've seen the initial 10 champions removed, courtesy of the Fearless Draft.
Oh, okay. So Zayaban could indicate that Top Esports is thinking about a buy.
Yeah, and they probably want to just do another dive comp.
Probably.
If you're banning that.
I mean, if you can
dive.
If you can run away with the early game again, no doubt dive is an easy way to close this second game out. G2, of course, this is the moment where the G2 fans say, hey, look, you were bad, time to break that bad, time to cook, show us something new.
Step number 1, don't give over the Azir after everything's already been fearless.
Rumble is now open.
But Rumble is now open. Perhaps they feel they have better answers into that particular champion. Of course, Mundo, one of the picks against double AP.
But mentioned this earlier.
Yeah, he is undefeated in his career. Kanavi is
Korea. Just double check. Korea.
Kámo, jestli piknou Kianu, tak máme šanci vyhrát.
No. Cut that out. It goes way harder if you just say his entire career. Ignore the fact that this champion has only jungled for the past, what, year and a half? Now locked in, though. And this is where it starts to get scary for G2, because you mentioned it, Kanavi, an absolute lethal threat with this. Rumble is still up and available, but we know, Vetty, Rumble is not the bread and butter of Broken Blade. It's been one of the #1 criticisms against this guy, as he isn't someone who plays Rumble. And luckily for him, Jace has fallen out of the meta, but that was the other one that people often talked about.
Kanavi could do the funniest thing if Caps locks in Rise. I'm not expecting it, but looks to be that is the direction that Caps is going to go. So with the Rise locked in, it gives G2 a little bit more side lane threat, which they did not have.
Takže Kiana first pick, jako Kanavi je nejlepší Kiana na světě a je ten důvod, proč se Kiana hlavně jako hraje. Ale furt je ten champion vodoven, podle mě. Furt to prostě vždycky můžeš flashnout tu ultimátku. A v momentě, kdy flashneš ultimátku, tak prostě nemá damage. Rise Mundo okamžitě 1-2. Okay. To hrajou komfort. Rise je dobrý do všeobecně, Rise je tanky. Kiana mu nedá one shot, nebo early game jo, ale mid game, late game ne.
Most Kiana players are pretty used to that now.
Hans nebude hrát Kalistu, to je Kalista je useless champ teďka.
Locked in, you highlighted Vetty, it is a flex pick for both Skumon and Broken Blade, perhaps waiting to see what will get locked in on the top side. Of course, good into the Rumble.
Rumble klasicky nezabanovaný, tak ho piknou, Free 69. Aurora do Rise se většinou bere.
Giving over to TES, pick of the litter.
A to je, kámo, jako Kiana, Rumble, Aurora.
We're in a situation where this is what I would have been scared of in Game 1, and they won Game 1, and now they're doing it in Game 2.
As a long-time Clutch Gaming fan,
ale je to hodně Magic resistů.
Kiana Rumble. This combination is explosive.
Ale starame mu raději, okay.
We let you into the West at the start of the cast. You're going to need to calm down with the niche references a little bit, brother.
Fair enough. It's not going to be the Aurora lock-in just yet for Cream, and they're going to go for the Alistar pretty early here instead. And it is a bit safer with the Braum already out.
Exactly. Question is, what can G2 now go for? Do they want to lock in their support? So this is going to be their answer.
Galio,
Flex is going to disappear.
Galio top lane do Rumble, okay.
Secured for Broken Blade means that, well,
Mundo jungle, to byla klasika. Tohle jako G2 klasický komp, ale když se na to podíváš, tak je to prostě komp, který jako není meta, který je takový bonky. Kde damage, Mundo Rise mají dost damage.
And I do like how there's multiple globals here for G2, Realm Warp and Galio.
G2 se jenom zachývali.
Mundo is a very strong scaling front line that can eventually get to the point where you can just walk straight at them and try and mark those very dangerous, slippery, low health members on the opponent team. So they're building something, I feel like, better, with more options at least than the first time around.
Yeah, and in Game 2 champions like powered by Omen and
jako tohle je víc G2 komp než ten první, to je pravda. Že ten první G2 komp to bylo jako, to byl prostě NA komp, to bylo scale to late game a win front to back. A týpci na to vemou triple flank s Ambesou, Wukongem a Akali a nejde jako dostali gap prostě ve fightech.
Off the table.
I feel like that could have been a 4 pick.
I feel like the Caitlyn ban makes a lot of sense because G2 right now are building very much a backline
Cassio na 100%. Cassio je tady mega dobrá, no. Jak do Galia, do Munda, tak i do Riseho. Divím si, že to nezabanovali. Tady jako upřímně Ezreal, Kai, Saban jsou komplet useless bunny. Komplet useless bunny. Draven, Caitlyn. Tady nevím, proč nezabanovali.
But I'm a little surprised to see it just because it's not something that G2 has really practiced or played at all this year.
I feel like TS are just saying, you know what, as long as G2 doesn't have lanes that are going to push heavily on us, like in multiple areas, they feel really comfortable in their own early game. So taking out a Caitlyn, taking out a Draven, some of the more aggressive options.
I think Sivir could be good for G2. It would give them a lot of
Sivir
wave
není
clear.
dobrá do Alistára.
It would give them the ability to have push in the bot
Sivir
side.
je mega bad do Alistára, ten nemůžeš cancelout jeho combo. Bard, okay. Tyhle ten G2 komp je takový, jakože Sivir by byla dobrá protest, ale zase. Sivir je dobrá do protest. Low range Ryze, low range Mundo, low range Galio. Sivir tu je výborná protest.
So now JackeyLove, when he moves out of bot and into mid, he has
a do Barda je taky výborná, jako Sivir to bylo no brain protest. Morgana mid, to bych se divil. Silas mid, čekal bych, že Scream je Silas Akali player, týpek hraje komfort. Ale Ryze je dobrý do Silasa, takže ne? Jo ne, ok, Jone by mohl. Ale Ryze je taky v pohodě do naše.
Incredibly AD heavy composition, high tabby value, but a lot of engage, a lot of backline threat again for top esports. It seems like this dive comp formula is one that they're happy to repeat.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as they 1, 2, 3 ban
out the Xayah, we're like, Smoldra bych to zahrál imo, úplně v pohodě. Caitlyn je v banu, Lucian je úplně v horhoven. Nehraj Luciana, vole. Týpek choukuje. Pikuje Corkyho a Luciana, no mě je zle. Ten týpek to pikuje jenom proto, aby nevypadal špatně.
This man has not gotten his international Lucian license. Very few people in the West have.
Now, if there was ever a game to change it, this is one. But this is a champ that we've seen. Even if it gets small lane advantages, even if it's okay at one item. Kámo, já ti říkám, že Hans piknul Corkyho Luciana jenom kvůli tomu, aby byl safe a aby nečoukoval. A stejně to choukuje.
I really didn't like the prioritization of the Bard, especially with the Sivir open, who now with the spell shield has just a really nice time into the Bard. I do think it gives you early lane pressure in the 2 versus 2 because Lucian Bard at the very least the double range is pulling out the Alistar. But once Sivir gets a few levels, that wave clear is not really going to be too perturbed by what this Lucian Bard brings. And I'm also just concerned, like, Lucian is inherently quite short-ranged. And while, of course, there are a number of champions on G2 side that want to just kind of run at top esports, I feel like you don't necessarily want to make it easier for a Yone and a Kiana to threaten you on the back line. I feel like G2 is kind of caught as to what to go for on the bot side of the Rift, and I think top esports should be very happy. They've got so much team fight power. They have easy ways to play around their lanes. I think Kanavi has great options.
Hans je fakt v choku, kámo. Hans prostě nechce vypadat. A to je největší problém, proč my prostě nikdy nebudeme dobří na World. Pokud naši hráči budou pikovat champion proto, aby vypadali dobře.
Where's the attack? Where's the, the threat actually going to come from?
Kámo, nemůžeš pikovat champion proto, abys prostě přežil linku a nevypadal špatně a chtít vyhrát. To nejde dohromady, a proto já to nemám rád. Proto já třeba mám rád Doga. Dogo ze CFO ten typek má piči. Týpek pikne, vole, úplně cokoliv a hraje agresivně jak kokos. Je to jedno. Ale prostě Hans dostane první hru komplet gap od JackeyLova. Komplet gap dostane na lince a v ten moment se stáhne do svý mušličky a pikne si Luciana, aby vypadal dobře, nevím. Ale třeba mě překvapí, třeba jo, ale spíš ne.
I do like this kind of aggressive level 1 positioning for G2. They see the defensive ward go down and they have a sweeper, so at the very least they can get a tiny gold lead.
Jako Lucian to je OK do Sivir, dobrý do Alistára, může dodžnout Jonekia na věci, OK do Rambla. Typically does like to roam domestically. We often said that Jojo was the best laner in Europe, but Caps was the one that just always had the best map presence. The fact that he was always finding good angles to ale taky nechápu, proč zabanovali Ezreal Kai'Sa.
Capable of doing that on the rise. This time though, Hans
and Pičo Labrov, dobrý stun. Dobrý stun.
Pretty solid early on. Of course, JackeyLove really just focused on
Labrov tady zahrál s tím Bardem, by the way.
Bard level 1 pretty dang strong. It's been hit a lot over the years with nerfs, but you have the passive, you have the Q, you can do some decent damage on a
Bard hraje dobře, Labrov hraje dobře. Prostě auto-attack, Q, auto-attack, double stun. Labrov tady vyhrál linku. Tady to není vůbec o Lucianovi, bro, tady je to o Bardovi. Bard tady dal 1 v 9. A dobrý instabase od toho. Od Jackieho. Na potky.
Hans was already forced back early on, level 2, level 3.
Oni se ho budou snažit zonovat. Tak to je dobrý, tohle je mega dobrý. Labrov tady smurfí, kámo. Tak to mě překvapuje. Ty vole, tak to je smurf. Ty debile, tak to je insane toto. Labrov smurfí s tím bardem. To čumím. To čumím. To čumím. To čumím, bro. Jako Labrov tady... A Mundo běží na dive. Dobře, tohle je... Ok, beru zpět. Tohle je early game, co jsem chtěl vidět. Hrát prostě, nehrát late game scaling pičoviny, ale prostě early game. Má spell shield. Mundo potankoval. Dobré. Pohoda. Kanavy a do prda, ale počkej, Caps má face rush. Face rush je broken. Ty pičo, Alistar je agresivní. To je agresivní. Skillman, let's go. Ej, to ale proč? Proč by tohle udělal Alistar, halo? Proč by to dělal? Best case by zabil Barda a stejně by umřel a feednul by Munda. A Mundo nechceš feednout.
Has an embarrassing play right there, going for Labrov, who has flash up. Got to keep track of these cooldowns here, and so the bottom lane for G2 massively accelerated, including
co to bylo? Ty krávy měly nějakou tu, ne? Jak byly šílený. Jak se to jmenovalo?
What was crazy about that bottom lane play as well was I thought that Hong's knock-up onto 2 was going to be the difference maker because G2 would have had to tank an extra tower shot.
Dobrý, tohle jsem říkal první hru, že ty vole, já si myslím, že G2 pokud chcou vyhrát proti Tes, tak musí piknout early game comp. Early game agresivní comp, který prostě matchne agresi Tes a budou fightit všechno.
Look at that CS discrepancy between the two AD carries. 33-7.
Nemoc šílených kráv to byla, ano. Si pamatuju takovou videohru, co jsem hrál jako malej a prostě byly tam šílený krávy, nemoc šílených kráv tam bylo. Ale byla to dobrá hra, byl takový tykun. Kde jsi si jako zbavoval se z těch nemocných kráv a 2 levely ahead. Caps běží, Mundo tu je taky. Hans to trošičku naintil, ale nevadí. Bude mít healy od Barda. To byl ten simulátor fast foodu. Byl to simulátor fast foodu, no. Nějaký. Z těch krav si dělal burgery, mám pocit, a tak. A nesměl si dělat burgery z těch krav, co byly šílený. OK, 1100 goldů. Proč tady mám 2 holuby? Ne, bro. Ty piču, tak ten je velký, kámo. Tak to je alfa samec holubí. Ty pičo, tak ten má 50 kg, bro. Obézní holub. Já bych poprosil streamer Clash kapitány, aby ke mně neposílali svý holubí špiony, svý CIA holuby. Jackie nemá HPčka zase. Ještě si vemou ty.
Only just now cresting to level 4. Hans Summer close to
push the advantage. Agresivní play. Meet Cola, insane. Nice.
This is the first time I will maybe have seen a bot lane Lucian call a level 4 Sivir, which is terrifying for TES.
And I mean,
viděl jsi dva snowfly z kapitánu, neviděl.
Hans Summer, his main criticism used to be that he could only play aggressive AD carries.
Sure.
Like Lucian, Draven were kind of his go-to champions right at the start of his career because lane dominance was what he was all about. But Top Esports looking to finally answer. They brought 369 down to the bottom lane.
Kamo, Lucian do streamer Clashe by byl dobrý pouze tehdy, když máš dobrýho junglera a dobrýho supporta, když máš prostě master jungle, master support, ale na to nemám peníze mít master jungle, master support, co jsem koukal.
Happy to have that isolated 1v1, the pickaxe a massive difference, as is almost
Zase mi dalo málo penězí, dali mi málo penězí. Stojím 320 bodů, no. Nestál jsem minule méně než 320 bodů. Ale Labrov, ty vole, upřímně toho Barda hraje fakt dobře.
I said craps on accident. It happened. I don't want to talk. I was like, hey, he isn't gonna have bad yet.
Kamil stojí kolko? 400.
Don't make me talk about the maybe that was, maybe what did you call Gumiyushi, Kobe? Should we bring that one back up?
You know,
it happens. It happens.
That was a nickname of endearment, you know. Honestly, though, G2 progressed the game plan pretty
má pro tebe value, když má hráč zkušenosti v scrims tournamentech v jiné hře. V jiných hře ne moc. Nebo trochu, jo. Kolik bys jako chtěl stát? Tak 280. 270, 280.
Happy to have all three Void Grubs. And again, TES, we saw what a dive comp looks like when you get these big leads early on.
Tři grubíci drák pro G2, 600 golďásků. Come on. Však já jsem Diamond 3 a stojím 250. No ale kapesník byl Challenger a stal 270 minulý Streamers Clash. To nebylo, nevím, co bylo za úplatky tam, ale ty vole týpek dostane penny sponzorství od Streamer Clasha a ještě stojí 270 bodů. To bylo solidně nefér. Foreman, čau kokucí, play safe 80. Pojď, zapte ho, fast, typy nevadí. Ještě zapte typy. Bart Smurfy, dobré portály, to je tak broken champ ten Bart.
369 waves goodbye to them as G2 mission accomplished. Tower dive successful and early game won.
Broken Blade moved from bot lane into mid. Kanavi working with Cream to try and find a pick, and they will get the flash out from Broken Blade.
Play safe AD carry, ale dobře to pušou ten lead s Ryzem a s Mundem. Tohle je přesně to, co jsem čekal, nebo to, co jsem říkal první hru, jak G2 chcou vyhrát hru, prostě hej, nebojte se hrát agresivně proti Tes. Problém je scalovat proti Tes.
And now we return back to live as Caps has found Hung.
Našli Hanka, Caps ho našel. Dead. Nice. Začínám věřit, chat, já začínám věřit. Kdo taky začíná věřit?
Solo mission from Hung. Definitely a rough one from him this game. So much of a better look from G2. Clearly they came into this one with a laid out early game plan and they have executed on that game plan straight from level 1. I would say, even if you cooked up this game plan though, it probably went even better than they expected, being able to zone Jackie so much.
Proxying at level 2 I don't think was part of
400 za Karze je celkem málo. To jsem říkal včera, no, že si myslím, že trošičku dojebali, že humanoid za 420 je v pohodě, protože humanoid se bude, na humanoid bude aukce. Humanoid bude mít aukci a humanoid půjde, kámo, ti říkám, za 500 bodů třeba. Jenže problém je, že jako Karzi bude stát 405 nebo 410 a nebude na něj aukce. Humanoid je 405, Karze je 420. Víš, že to je jakoby... Humanoid se prodá za 500 a Karzi humanoid, víš co, oba dva jsou stejně dobří, když tak blbě řeknu. A humanoid bude za 500 a Karzi bude jenom za 420, protože je kapitán.
Yeah, this is something that G2's doing a lot this game. They are constantly committing 4 members to one side of the map. Broken Blade moves into mid to catch the wave. And as you highlighted, Dracos, they're just allowing 369 that solo farm. He's building a lead of his own, but the rest of the map is going all the way to G2.
Uncommitted into going into Broken Blade. That's the fate seal for the follow-up. A lot of time wasted here. They do get Broken
Ale máme first to red, máme 2000 goldů, máme 2 draky, máme 3 gruby. Nemůžeme to nějak teďka to.
Yeah, I like that. From the position that TES were in, they know we cannot continue to fight into
Kamil je docela drahý na to, že hraje supporta. Upřímně si nemyslím. Víš, čeho se já bojím? Já se bojím u Kamila toho, že Kamil si veme dobrýho junglera a 2v8 dají. Jako dobrý support, dobrý jungler ti stačí v té hře. Ty nepotřebuješ nic jiného. Protože jungler je hyper carry. Víš co, dřív by si normálně potřeboval dobrýho midaře nebo AD. abys vyhrál tu hru, protože jungle neměl tak jako velký impact late game. Ale teďka je jungle tak strašně broken v late gameu, že ty nepotřebuješ nic jiného. Takže já si myslím, že to jako Kamil bude taky velký favorit na výhru. Protože ty od levelu 1 budou spolu roamovat. Víš co, Kamil se veme Barda, bude roamovat se svým junglerem a týpek bude 10-0 jungle. A vem si třeba Karzio, když bude hrát Karzi proti Kamilovi, tak Karzi bude prostě 0-0-0 v 20. minutě, protože enemy botlane bude hrát AFK a budou prostě, nebo bude třeba 2-0. Ale Kamilův jungler bude 10-0 a garantuju ti, že 10-0 jungler vole AD si neplivne. Hej, kdyby byl 0-0 jungle a 0-0 AD, tak si AD neplivne. Okay, tady se začíná contestit fightíček. Takže to si myslím, že Kamil je dobře naceněný. Problém je, hele, Yone, Cream Yone. Nejlépe nějak shutdownou ty sidelanery, 369 a Cream prostě zase klasicky dávají gap. Nebo gap, ale ne gap, ale hrajou dobře.
With no armor, so definitely the ideal side lane for TES in a world where the side lanes are going to be dangerous for them this time around. Since G2 have the threat of the Realm Warp and the Bard, they're going to constantly be pressuring TS's ability to control any of these side lane minion waves, and so Cream is going to have to be very careful with the pressure that he does exert.
Třetí drak za 2 minuty.
How both teams approach this Herald. Spawning in 40 seconds. It's Caps and Hans Sama once again grouping up in the mid lane to contest that push. Bot lane has been completely abandoned. Skumon is in the area.
Proč si Cream nevzal plát? Já jsem neviděl, co teda dělal. Ale ty pláty nejsou, pláty jsou strašně nerfnutý, kámo. Jako 120 goldů za plát je, to není Warzone na tempo. Ty když si pojebeš tempo, tak pak ztratíš třeba neutrální objektiv, anebo vizi, kterou pak nezískáš zpátky. Počkej, Hans, co tady dělá? Vidíš, tady má tempo Cream a zabil Hanse. Oni šli vardit a prostě dostali catch. A Lucian neměl flash. Borci to nemůžete dělat takový chyby, musíte jít spolu. Musíte jít spolu.
And this, Yone is now becoming a problem for G2. They had a great start to this game, but taking out Hansama gives a nice window for Jakilov to get some much needed XP here in game 2.
Tak znovu, co se tady stalo? Ale furt je tam třetí drak, jo, to, že teďka, furt je to OK, furt je to OK. Oni tady jdou vardit a Kanavi jumpnul přes zeď a Cream má move. Týpci jdou vardit, když Mundo tam není a Rice teprve pushuje, to je klasická mistake, To je klasická chyba, kdy jdeš off tempo, dělat něco, co máš dělat na tempu. A Hans má 125 CS proti 111 Sivir, jak to jako, co se tam stalo? Ale pozor, teďka hraje komplet skoro even, ale třetí drak je důležitý tady. G2 tady můžou zajistit třetího draka, protože Mundo je broken. Bojím se level 12 Rumble. Jak to dělá ten 369, že je prostě level 12 zas, vole. To hovado vyjebaný. Mundo, potřebuji Munda, aby ty vole tady dal 1v9, push, dobré kvečko od Munda, Tady to může vyhrát G2, tady to může vyhrát. Dobrý pouk na Hanga, výborný pouk. Už, ty pičo Kanavi. Zebral nám to, vole. Ne, on nám to spad. Kamale Kanavi, ty prase. Počkej, fight. Ne. Oni flashnou a nic se nestane. Flashnou, nic se nestane. To je blbý, ten třetí drak. Měli jsme se víc bát, míň bát jsme se měli a měli jsme víc zonit body languagem, aby Kanavi nemohl smajtnout. Toho draka. Protože tady, kdybychom měli třetího draka, tak ti říkám, ty pičo, tak to je jako win kondice jak blázen. Protože Mundo je silný jak blázen. Mají damage ho zabít? si neproknul face rush.
And just like that, Top Esports have eliminated the goal difference. All of that advantage that G2 had managed to build.
Kámo, z jednoho prostě intu od Hanse Samy do smajtu od Kanaviho a je to even ta hra. Ale zase je Feedley Mundo, hoši, je Feedley Mundo. A kdo zabije Feedley Mundo? Když Jonáš zabije Feedley Munda. Kurva, ale Cream, největší problém tuhle série je, že prostě Free 69 a Cream jsou úplně kompletně magoři. Prostě Cream má za 170 CS, 1200 goldů advantage.
The Rumble ultimate, since you're going to have Alistar, Yone, and Kiana setting up this Rumble ultimate as solo AP, 369 is going to burn.
And 369 building for the team with the Cursed Orb, getting that healing reduction so that Skumon can't be this massive threat. Again, so much physical damage, 369 to be one source of magic damage. He knows how important it is.
To je hodně dobrý, že tady Rumble má tu Oblivion Orb, protože prokne na Oblivion Orb na 5 lidí.
Yeah, I mean, even though Jackie's super far behind, they've got a Blade of the Rune King Yone and a Leandri's Rumble to be able to roast through the Mundo here. Skumon did go very heavily into armor, both the crit reduction as well as the tabbies, and getting the...
Randuin tady je mega dobrý buy. Mega dobrý buy od Munda.
369 still gonna kind of burn right through.
Protože ty Kiana spely kritujou, že jo? A Yone Sivir budou taky kritovat, to je nejlepší tady item.
Hansama really needs to be on his A game, cannot afford to get caught again. You highlighted it already, but Jackie Love from being zoned away for so many of the early levels to now comfortably catching waves and farming in the mid lane. Definitely not what G2 were planning for. As Kanavi caught out for a moment.
chytnutý.
Keeps him safe.
Splash combo na Hansama.
G2 thought they had the angle, but TES turn it right back.
Prý, žijou, počkej, Hank to nentil. Sápte ho! Mundo, pojď, push, Mundo, push! Mundo se podle mě strašně bojí, tady má flash, ult, mohl jít, vole. I mohl jít, týpek. Tady podle mě mohl to rozběhnout.
And it ends up costing him, but my goodness, Kanavi continues to be terrifying.
I think this is the second time where Hung really wanted to kill
Shenji, děkuju za 6 měsíců do jedničky, děkuju. Děkuju za pravidelný tier 1 svíček. To je krásná podpora. Atakan start. Jako zabít to strašně rychle s Mundem. Nenechat si snížit armor magic resist. Pojď, one-shotí to! To je naše! To je mega good. Kanavi! Ty vole, malem to smajtnul, to byl dobrý pokus od Kanaviho. To bylo jako... ale tohle je dobré. Jako hej, 2000 goldů Rumble zase prostě Free 69 200 CS 2000 goldů ahead. Já nevím, jak to ten Magor dělá, level 13. Ale díky bohu tohle byl mega dobrý call od G2.
G2 find themselves with an advantage once again. Game 1 was Top Esports in full control from start to finish. Game 2, G2 get out the gates with a really nice lead, but Top Esports are punishing these positioning mistakes from G2, finding picks where they can. Now though, it feels like with the Arakan gone, we're kind of in this neutral
mid-game where it ultimately comes down to execution
from both sides. Hansama is so
já bych měl CDR. Já bych to teda nestavěl, ale staví jsme. Bart nemá ten nesmrtelný item, má ten... Pozor, kámo, ten Rumble, ale to je v piči, ten damage. OK, dobrá. Pojď, Mundo Rice. Tady jste feedli, pojď! Nemají damage zatím, Nemají damage za Munda! Ale prostě Lucian nedal Ečko zas. Pojď, kap si to a 1v4 to nějak vykouzli to.
Incredible triangulation of the engage from Cream onto Hansama, taking him out. Caps is the fearsome
Mundo Green bude mít ult, ne, nebude mít. Bartu bude, oni mají TP. Ty vole, tady se stalo hodně věcí. Labrov prostě nemá ten Celestial Body item od supporta, takže dostane one shot, má ten Blood Song na damage, což si myslím, že v solo queue Blood Song je výborný, ale tady v kompetitivu mít, vole, ten červený support je není good.
Caps, he's setting up a bit of a trap here, looking to see if he can catch out Kanavi. But remember, that play started with Labrov just dying ahead of the Dragon fight. He's sitting with Skumon thinking that he's safe enough to get this vision control, but after he gets caught,
Labrova, protože nemá ten item. Kdyby tam měl ten support item, tak ho nevanshotnou. Teď z tohohle fightu nemají damage na Munda, takže Mundo je fakt jako silnej. Zaultil strašně brzo teda ten Mundo. 369 to ne na inti, jo? Teď všichni musí flashovat a sleduje, jak je feedlay, jak... On ani, ale Caps ani není feedlay, ale je prostě tak strašně broken ten champion Rice. Škoda, že nedal Ičko, no. Škoda, že prostě Hans to nedodžnul tu ult.
To control the bottom side of the river.
Frustration on the face of Broken Blade, a very close fight. Navori Flicker Blades were there for Hans in a more extended skirmish. Probably could have dashed around.
Sivir postavila Essence Reaver a LDR, kámo. Jako smart, je to smart. Sivir to je wave clear bot, no. Ty pičo, dobrý damage. Munda, push! Munda, push! Ty pičo, je broken. Kámo, G2 bojuje. G2 bojuje, nebojte, G2 bojuje. Mundo jít, kam on chtít. Ano. Pozor, nedostanou one shot, ne? Mundo je nesmrtelný, ne? Jone. Let's go! Upřímně, já taky nevím, jak hrát proti Mundovi, ten champ je broken. Ty piče, ale dobře, on prostě hrát atypický champy prostě. Dobrý, dejte to, všechny killy dejte Mundovi, ten to ne na intí, Hans to intí. Utíkej, pojď, běž, dej mu, nemá flash, dej mu! Ty pičo, ten damage od Riseho, kamo, jak balance je Rise, že ten týpek má 3500 HP, 800 HP štít, Zoniu a one-shotuje. A ještě je level 16, když si vyjde level 12, co ti jebe. Buff AD fast. Ty pičo, je normálně, my z toho vyhráli jsme z toho hru pomalu. Teď si dáme Barona, jak jsme z toho vyhráli hru.
As Kanavi is in the area.
Second blue trinket down. Spots it out. Skimon, of course, happy to tank.
Pojď. Není tady Rumble, to je jediný, co dává damage. Rumble je jediný, co dává damage zatím. Bacha, Labrova, ať nedostaneš one shot, prosím tě. Dobrý calling asi. No kap, Jackie Love naintil. I repeat, Jackie naintil. Kamo, ten Rice je nesmrtelný, ti říkám. Vysolí všechno do toho kapsíta a neumírá. Halo?
Turn onto top esports who don't 5-or-5 members. They put the pressure onto Kanavi, they get the pick onto Jackie Love, and they're looking to secure their first.
Seknul se mi stream, nebo se sekla jejich broadcast?
And picking off the Rumble in the side lane results in the pressured 5v4 at Baron. They get all the kills, they get the Baron.
Kamo, sleduj, ale jak je nesmrtelný Rice prostě. Level 16 prase 3200 HP a to ani není Seraph. Týpek tam front, on tam tankne všechen damage od Kiany a všechen damage od Jonáše. A prostě neumírá. Jebe.
As he allowed G2 to chase down their opposition.
Crazy.
And now they're looking to equalize this series if they can use this Baron to close things out.
Doslova dostal 3 spell 1 autotek, doslova dostal QE od Kiany, ultimátku, 3 autoteky od Jonáše a týpek žije dál.
have remained in control, finding picks on Hong, finding picks on Jackie Love, back to back.
Však se dívej, kolik má HP, on má 3400 HP a Seraph a Zoniu. Tohle je důležitý jak svině na mentál, no to je proti tu, to je mega důležitý. Mundo je taky nesmrtelný. Oni nemají, jakoby bez Rambla nemají nevič. Ale všeobecně nemají nevič. 5000 gold lead s tímhle kompem je hodně dobrý. Ten Labrov, ale musím říct, že Labrov fakt jako hraje dobře toho Barda. Jako Labrov je důvod, proč ten bot lane byl tak ahead. Ona inicioval ten proxy farm level 2 proti TT. To bylo šíleně dobrý.
Starting to hurt a little bit. Caps brought down to less than 50% HP. Skumond largely unfazed by that poke, but
Rice má TP, nemá TP. Tady se nechal napoukat strašně. To je BB, pozor. Lucian by měl dávat cooldown na ultimátku, ať poukuje. Tady kdyby zaultil někoho, tak mají free turret. Víš co, Lucian ulti je fakt mega broken na siege a na poke. Hej, Rumble ultimátka down. Ult, bro! Lucian, ult! Si to nechává na fight. Jako mají to anyway, ten inhibitor. Ještě vemte ten bot, prosím. Další portál? Kamo, jak čisto má portál? Táhni do piče, holube. Bacha na tu Kianu, Ví. Flash combo na 3! Ale flashli to, dobré, flashli to, výborně. Hans, proč si šel mili... Hans, ale dobré, Rice je true carry. Hans je true carry tady, teda Rice je true carry tady s Mundem.
Jackie Love in the mid lane. TES a bit over eager on the force there. G2 happy to punish as Cream manages to find the knockup, continuing to poke at G2.
Jako Hans to inkí, ale na jeho obranu je to fakt těžký hrát prostě, to Luciana. Máš moc málo HP, máš 500 range, ale on jakoby neultí prostě. On by měl edizovat to, že má range na ultimáce jak blázen, ten Lucian, a dá to největší damage. A to by měl edizovat. Takový kuhlík by tam měl hodit. Dal i in jeho obrana, no nebylo to dobrý, co udělal, že fokusuje Alistara, Edge a dá melee range. Ale tohle je ale sick, že to vyflashovali, že na to nedali follow-up. Ičko do melee range, Alistara by dostal stun a one shot od toho. Tady by mohli finishnout hru, kdyby to neudělal. Tady by zabili prostě, teď by tady dal Kalink na Rumble a Rumble flashuje nebude mrtvej. Ale jsme dobrý, jsme ahead jak svině. Máme 2 inhibitory.
The best news out of that play from Top Esports is Hong got 3 flashes instantly. Hans, Labrov and Broken Blade all taken off the board. Caps also used his flash, chasing down 369 in the base, which means that Top Esports, if they can find another pick, maybe they can still salvage some of this game.
And they do now have the infinity.
Pomalu ale jistě kusí. Kajosaj, děkuji za 5 subů. Tohle je dobrý alert, to bych dal na nějaký donate alert. Kozel to asi není, že? Kolik AD má teď Mundo? Tak 400, kamo. Pičo, to je jako, to jsou kufříky, ty pičo. Engage na Barda od Kanaviho, to je bad. Konečně cooling. To je finito, vypínačka. GG. Jone, flash engage, bysnutej. Díky bohu. Kapsí to. 1200 HP, štít, co to je za čampa?
In this game too, and they may just look to end it here.
G2 bounce back in a masterful way. They stick to their comfort. Skewmon.
Decent start to the fight, but it's just
Mundo Raisu tady HF pro carryčka. Lucian tady je jenom takový jakoby fill. Ale dobré, 1-1. Mega důležitá hra, Mundo tady, ale teď nebude Mundo. A oni nevěděli, jak hrát proti Mundovi. Já teda taky nevím, jak hrát proti Mundovi, ale týpci nevěděli, jak hrát proti Mundovi, Číňaní.
Smiles, handshakes on the face of Broken Blade. He was kind of left out to dry this game. But hey, he did what he could. He landed what taunts he could where he can.
G2 bojuje, guys.
Was very much about that bottom lane finding that early lead. Let's hear what the analysts have to say.
Ale nesmím si dávat, nevím, kolik máte houpy a teďka. Já jsem říkal 3-1 Tes. Je to 1-1. Uvidíme. Ale potřebujeme early game a hrát agresivně early mid game. Nechcem scalovací kompy, nechcem prohrávající linky, my chcem vyhrávající linky a fajti všechno. Jako nejvíc to naintěla botlane, Jekylla to turbo naintěl. Bart Labrov dal 1v9. Labrov normálně legit komplet potahal botlane. To level 1 a tady tohle, jak inicioval tady tohle, protože Hansovi se podle toho movementu do toho nechtělo. Hansovi se do toho nechtělo, ale Bart říkal, Labrov říkal, ne, tohle musíme udělat. A bylo to mega popiči good. Mega popiči good. Jackie je známý inter, no. Petošku děkuju za 4 měsíce a hitnul každý stun na Jackieho doslova.
Chunk him down, and this is what sets up to what I thought was gonna be a great and clean G2 win, because this early game was played out. Really, it was textbook.
And the fact that they end up getting these early kills on Skewmon is huge as well. He's able to start to snowball when it comes to the experiences. You've set Jackie Love massively far behind. Like the fact that Labrov was hitting some of these stuns in level 1.
Hodí po roce zpět na Lord, Petošku, děkuju, vítej.
Wow, okay. Okay, he still won the game, by the way. Hey, but talk about Evolution to me, because there's a reason why we didn't have a lot of faith.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to see the win rate. 2-13 was Lucian all time this year in the LEC. And it's an absolute absurd time for them to pull it out. I saw it and was like, oh no, it's going to be going 0-2 immediately. But we managed to get the early plays. We snowball effectively. And Hans Sama was doing such a good job with the culling in these fights to actually set up for a lot of these victories. And it's the enabling that we haven't been able to get right in LEC, but G2 were able to do just that here in this game.
I think he deserves his international Lucian license, and yeah, I'm glad that he did, because the bot lane was the strong point for them back in 2024. But Maurits, run me through our next replay, which is a great move by G2 thanks to the reliable Cisco network, because they needed this.
Because I really was on an emotional roller coaster, because at first I thought G2 deserved to win this game, then they made a couple of big snafus, but then they kept their heads cool, and they made sure that this series didn't end up going to a 2-0. I think that would have just been the end of it, but they immediately isolate Jackie Love. Kanavi is unable to hit the wall, and if this fight doesn't go their way, and we were skeptical because Skewmon didn't have his ult, and they lose here, they lose this game.
Can I ask you, if you're playing a game, would you advise this positioning at Baron with your team?
Well, Rumble was dead with no ult, so I think that's why they're going for it. But it definitely, you've seen those plays go wrong so many times, right? If Kiana gets in the pit, gets a multi-man ult, Yone's there to follow it up, it definitely could go bad. But Jackie definitely stepping too far forward. And I'm kind of with you guys on this journey of thinking it was going to be super one-sided after the early game. And then we have to be honest, you know, G2 did make a number of mistakes. Labrov in particular kept getting picked off. Their bot lane got both picked off, and you're like, oh my God, wait, are they going to lose this? You cannot lose a game like this and take out an LPL or LCK team, but they were able to stabilize, and they were able to punish mistakes then from TES, like Hong getting caught a number of times. And G2, you know, were able to stay calm and battle through that.
Both have to work on their mistakes and their timing specifically, because as you say, Azael, I've seen this versus BLG, even though they won that game. I've seen this versus FlyQuest in that last game as well, and you can't make those mistakes at this level.
I do want to highlight, though, is that coming out of draft, I actually think that G2, thanks to their great early game, did come away
kind of scot-free because this draft should not have as much early power, and that's something that I am still worried about going into next game.
But it's even, look at the picks you've taken away from Top Esports. It's the Rumble, it's the Kiana, it's Cream's Yone. These are massive picks for Top Esports that they were not able to pick up a win on. The fact that G2 had a plan, even if it ended up a little wonky, actually came through here, and being able to now move forward in Fearless, knowing that so many of these power picks for this LPL representative gone, now makes things a little bit easier for G2.
Yeah, they got to see if they can really make it work in Fearless into game 3, 4, and possibly 5 for G2. Very good that they fought back. They're still in this World Championship, and they're still on course to possibly win this series, but Top Esports in their own house has something to say about that. It's going to be a banger of a game 3. We'll be right back.
The grass blade ready to go. Stun onto Jackie Love, connecting. Caps immediately going to follow. Redemption coming through, but it's not enough. Once again, Jackie is picked off. Cream coming in with the Q3, but it's just too late. Kanavi trying to make his way out, but he isn't able to grab the grass blade, and down he goes. G2 might not get the Baron yet, but they sure as hell take the fight.
When I was a player, if I was to make a misplay, maybe it's my mouse, maybe it's my armrest, something feels wrong. If you were at home, you wouldn't do that.
The Infinite Precision Armrest is part of the larger Secret on Stage standard initiative, aimed to bring your home or training room settings to the tournament stage.
이제 저뿐만 아니라 다른 선수들도 세팅을 더 원활하게 할 것 같고
가장 편안할 때 더 강력한 플레이가 자연스럽게 나옵니다.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Hey guys, it's G2 Scumont, and this is my first time at Worlds. It's been pretty amazing since we're out here in the bootcamp for the Worlds in China. I really love the vibes and the country in general. It's pretty different than Europe, and I like it a lot. A moment that I will never forget about Worlds is probably like 2022, DRX against EDG, the game 2 where Def was one hit away from winning that game. This game in particular gave me a lot of hope and this feeling of actually never giving up. Doesn't matter if you're 0-2 down, 2-0 up, you always need to stay in the moment, in the present, and actually focus on the next game, the next second. People were saying this version of G2 will probably not even make it, but we are now in quarters, and I really think that we can go even more. So thank you for your support. See you guys, and for my French fans, au revoir.
No au revoir yet. 1-1, a tied-up series, G2 versus TES. This series, above all others, was one where you could tell me anything happened, and I would probably believe you. HLE 3-0 Gen G, I got questions. TES 3-2, 3-1, 3-0. It's plausible.
I mean, Mundo goes where he pleases. Scumond definitely did that game. Nobody could kill him. They put the Sivir so far behind. Jackie Love, you know, was unable to do any damage to him. So I think that was a really good look for G2 as far as progressing in the series here in Fearless. I'm very curious to see what other things they can craft.
And remember that the changes that G2 made was because they felt like that they weren't meeting their expectations on the international stage. It was that jungle and that support position that came in for G2 to replace Yike and Mickey. And as Scumon himself said, expectations were lower, especially after failing not once but twice in the finals in both winter and spring, to then winning out summer. The culmination of their year, this team very much has been a growth story throughout the year. And now 2 games away and they can find themselves in the semifinals, but Top Esports made some changes themselves, and I feel like one of those changes that we saw, that man in the jungle, is a man that is no easy opponent to get through. He's only been to the World Championship 3 times in his career, but 2 out of the 3, he made it to the semifinals.
Yep, looking to get there once again for Kanavi. And pairing with 369 as well. His buddy to do it with. Honestly, they were not the problem in the previous game. It was the other side of the map.
Bot lane, naturally, where we're going to have to turn our attention.
I mean, strong winning lane seems to be the name of this series. Getting that early advantage is so important. So let's see how things shift as Top Esports choose to remain on the blue side.
Now the Azir banned away the Talia. Again, we're going deep.
Tak, Azir Talia, 1-1 to je SRK.
Gets targeted more.
Yeah, LeBlanc now taken away as well. I think good news for G2 that they were able to win, especially against the Kiana from Kanavi. I think Rob highlighted it on the desk as well, but taking away some of these more niche picks that can often be difficult to play against when you don't see them as much domestically is a big win in the context of Fearless.
Jarvan, I think, is a very important jungler in Game 3 especially, because when we think about the most meta, the most potent, the most effective early game junglers, I feel like Jarvan raises very high on the list, and I imagine both these junglers will want to get their hands on the pick. But is it something that's worth first picking? Is it safe enough to pick this early in the draft when we know that especially a team like G2 has so many creative options?
Yeah, I usually like seeing at least one immobile carry for the opponents to lock in, to then be able to use it. But as you say, Kanavi has been insane with this champion. Definitely very, very scary if they decide to early pick it. Of course, Kanavi's been very scary on a lot of champions.
That he has, but you highlighted Jarvan, his most played in Split 3/Summer. And a lot of the mobile 80 carries, you know, off the board.
Well, Ezreal is the biggest one, right?
Kai'Sa as well, so.
Yeah, Trundle is still available, so that one's definitely pretty high priority.
Sion also up, which means we may be in a situation where, you know, an early Trundle denies or at least warns against an early Sion.
So this could be the Kled Trundle type of draft that we could see from G2, depending on how confident Top Esports is to blind pick the Sion, and I think picking the Trundle is a really smart adaptation because then it deters the Sion pick away from G2 and it allows Top Esports to get it for themselves.
Kurwa, It's an awkward position to be in, right? Kurwa, consistently high value, kind of, and those 100% shut him down in the early game, which is technically what G2 in that first match. It's a champion that feels kind of this inevitable front line that will be hard to deal with, but with a Trundle locked in, G2 may be forced to give it away.
Poppy also got through the bans this time around. So as we progress and we start to see, you know, dash carries actually picked up, gonna have to remain cognizant there, see if they decide to get that powerful pick. All right, we get a pushing bottom lane here.
Caitlyn,
it seems like the read that you had
early game.
Talking about pushing lanes, lane dominance early on, and this could be big. Locked in, cast your minds back. 2024 MSI. It was Yike on this Ivern. Double 80 carry compositions for G2.
Trundle first pick, oni chcú si asi Siona, ne? Trundle Sion.
Cast your mind back a few hours. We were in the back room saying,
Ezreal Karma insta do toho,
we were going back to logs. Yeah, he's got a few.
I mean, I was just going to pretend we knew that. I wasn't going to go back to like, wait, does he play?
But I mean, I didn't expect it in game 3. I saw that Trundle and my instincts immediately went to, I think Ivern could really be good here just because it facilitates this idea of a strong pushing bot lane. But I don't think Top Esports have responded poorly by going for the Ezreal Karma. They've gotten a bot lane duo that can look to match this Caitlyn with good range, good safety, and good wave clear.
Ivern is one of the champs that's always so annoying for Trundle though, because it does have so many things to lock him up.
Now, if you are an OG fan of Lebrov, you love to see this Thresh. If you are a 2025 fan of Lebrov, it's been cursed. Multiple high-pressure LEC finals in clutch games, the Thresh was brought out. It failed catastrophically. Not entirely because of the pick, but this is a massive sign of confidence for the G2 support.
Ezreal Karma je mega dobrý answer do Caitlyn, protože tuhle hru, protože minulou hru vyhráli na to, že bot lane gapnuli.
That he is extremely comfortable on it.
Takže oni chcou mít agresivní matching bot lane Ezreal Karma.
Where are you on that scale, Vedius?
Pessimistic. I think that Thresh is just kind of a bad champion, if I'm being really honest.
Karma je dobrá do Thresh.
Yep.
And I think that Karma just has so much poke. The problem for G2 right now is the lack of lockdown, I feel like, that they need for a champion like Ezreal. And for Top Esports, I think that they just want to try and stack up the range. They want to make it as difficult as possible for G2 to close that gap. The question is, what direction do they go? I think removing the Sion is a good adaptation. The Jax, a comfort pick for Broken Blade on the top side, also removed from Top Esports. And you can see how the approach, G2 trying to remove some of the more traditional standard meta things that can just be synonymously strong with a lot of what Top Esports already have. Top Esports really targeting some of these comfort picks, the LeBlanc, the Jax. I wonder what else to look to try and remove from G2's pool.
Yeah, I mean, TES are showing pretty dang good poke comp, and so poke comps are worried about the hard engage, so Kled definitely makes sense with all those Kled comps that G2 did run. But Trundle Pillar with Karma and Ezreal is like a shooting gallery of poke damage towards the mid game. See how effective they can be with it. Root Collars and death sentences from the side of G2 are pretty easy to dodge when you've got the extra speed that TES have.
Nope. It looks like a relatively safe blind pick for the G2. In the Renekton, of course, synergizes nicely with the Root Caller from the Ivern. As TS now debate on what their final 2 picks are going to be. Now, as much as I'm skeptical of the Thresh, it's important to highlight if G2 can pull ahead early on, Thresh is a fantastic champion at snowballing lead, the hooks that can come from Fog of War. That said, the range discrepancy between these two teams right now is starting to feel enormous.
Again, I just love the poke comps that are centered around Trundle Pillar. Trundle Pillar is just such a good ability at setting them all up, and so Hui makes a lot of sense here for TES. We have seen 369 with amazing Aatrox.
I mean, we saw it in the Swiss game. We ran it side by side with the Shy replay that we all know
seen
is
a lot of Aatrox, okay?
And I'm just saying, they looked pretty much the same.
They only had 2 different champions in their first game here in Swiss versus G2. Instead of the Hui, they had Orianna. Instead of the Ezreal, they had the Yunara. But
really? Caps is Silas. It's at this much range, doesn't
Ty jsi kokot, fakt vyjebanej, ty zamrde.
Sahur!
Boom, 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 boom!
Potržítko Randy's donates 125 korun českých. Nepřemýšlíš, že by streamoval dopoledne i do budoucna? Nebo myslíš, že tu nebude tolik lidí mimo girl? Zatím máš dobrou hodinu. Ne, jde.
Zatím mám dobrou hodinovku, no.
Top esports have a huge amount of range, and I've always thought one of Renekton's biggest struggles is closing that gap against champions like Wei and like the Ezreal.
Yeah, I
Borci, vy tady řešíte Silase, ale já tady kurva vidím Free 69 na Aatroxovi.
Really good poke damage, really good speed.
A ty kde se babek si nech? Říkal jsem, že chci práci a ne tady otročit.
No jo, tak se kurva seber a vypadni. A už se tady nikdy neozvíš.
Děkuju za podporu. Still going to be so hard for them to get on top of these key targets.
Jako já se tady bavím Free 69 a Aatroxe,
all about
kurva.
early domination. Game 2 for G2 the same.
Silas tu je whatever.
Game 3, the advantages in lane have often been the key component of who comes out on top.
Champion anyway.
It's not been about late game scaling or team fighting. It's been about massive early leads, and G2 may need to find one again if they want to fire back in this game 3.
Mně se nelíbí ten Ivern v pohodě.
After the
first
game, the hope died a little bit for EU fans, but then G2 bounced back, and we find ourselves in a tense series.
Oba ty drafty jsou takový zajímavý, no. Je to Fearless, je to B5, třetí hra Fearlessu. Kdo má lepší draft? Nevím, jedl jsem, nedával jsem to. Podívám se na to, řeknu.
G2 with position on the bot side of the map.
Jako
we have to bear in mind the split map. Both AD carries want the support of their junglers. They'll be contesting for that push. And we'll see if either side try and fight for early enemy jungle control.
Nemohl tam piknout něco jiného než Silase. Trash Silas se mi to nelíbí, jinak je to dobrý. Ezreal, Karma, Heavy, Trundle, Aatrox.
With the Trundle. He had really good pathing down towards
Máme
the
dobrou
bottom
early
side.
game zase.
Helped
Máme
out
lepší early game než
and so it's kind of a flip of what G2 just did to them. We'll see which team can pressure on the bottom side. If this Ezreal plus Karma poke damage is going to land in the early stages, then it should be
jako s Aatroxem mám strach, že je to Free 69 Aatrox, kámo. Free 69 Aatrox je Aatrox, vole, god.
To find those early leads, because as much as they have the range advantage, G2 have a lot of CC.
Ale uvidíme. Hele, máme early game, máme tam pick, který není atypický, což je Ivern a Trash a vypadalo to, že oni proti atypickým pickům, jako je třeba Mundo, minulou hru neumí hrát. A vypadá to, uvidíme. Já si tady s dovolením dojím z vajíčka, protože dneska budu streamovat 8 hodin. Tak budu muset jíst na streamu. Takže vám nechám kastry na hlas aspoň.
Fighting over the push meanwhile. Trundle will be passing down towards this bottom side as expected to try and make use of the Karma Ezreal poke. Same thing in mid lane though. So G2 are going to have to deal with both mid and bottom being kind of weak points as far as the push goes. Silas, of course, always has the opportunities for going for all-ins when you have an Ivern jungle. And that's the one thing Cream does have to be a little bit careful of.
Nice trades there from Cream, though. Punishing Caps when he can. The farm from Caps, pretty solid overall, as Broken Blade at the very least has push on the top side of the map. Those hooks from Lebrov, there's going to be one going wide, and that gives that bot lane that extra push.
Also remember how quickly Ivern clears. So first clear, you always have to be worried about the Ivern early move. Because you do have this extra time over pretty much all of the junglers with the super quick clear, and he's going to use that time to go towards mid, as we're talking about, trying to help Caps out, maybe with a possible all-in.
Instantaneous fear. Good use of the despair from Cream just to make sure the Caps is forced back. Does allow Caps to at the very least push out the wave.
Minulou hru mám zahodil potom, co byl Turbo Feedlay. A první hru komplet čouknul, že dost jsme prohráli.
Doesn't quite connect. G2 are able to walk away, but obviously playing a little bit on the edge there because Trundle can do so much work in those early skirmishes.
And the other part of this is that you know this Ivern's been chased up to the top of the map. So that allows Hong and Jackulov here to continue to try and throw out some poke and try and wear down on the Caitlyn and Thresh extra potions that they have. Currently Lebrov is dry on potions.
Ale jako
no more sustain
inspiration
left for
runy
him
proti
for the Thresh.
ne sorcery runy.
And that's the one that's going to be in pain as they continue to focus.
AD si nehraje runy jako já, rovná se trolí.
TP back into the middle lane. Cream, once he clears out this wave, I imagine will look to do the same thing. Hook!
Hook connecting, forcing a cleanse out from Jackie Love.
That trap combo is scary.
Doslova každá Caitlyn, žádná Caitlyn tyhle runy na Worlds nehrála. Všichni hráli buď Fleet Footwork or Seria, nebo Little Tempo Sorcery. Dubínek ganguje! Dubínek!
Extra slow there. Broken Blade still waiting for that cooldown though. Might not be able to finish it. Does not want to go into tower. One more auto, and Skewmon manages to seal the deal.
Beautiful CC combination. Renekton stun into Rootcaller from the Ivern, and G2 grab first blood again.
I really didn't think that Broken Blade would actually have the damage to secure that kill, but they're just able to secure it. Caps misses out on the cannon minion as Cream. Fantastic pressure in the 1v1. Hung now hovering around mid lane. Trundle isn't that far behind either.
Severing Bolt. A mantra Q to come over the wall, perhaps. So they spot Caps. They see Skewmon as well, so they decide not to risk it. Instant flash comes in, of course. Ivern, pretty obnoxious champion to try and counter.
Has that smite available. There's not much that you can really do. But Broken Blade on this Renekton now in a great position. We know that when this champion gets a little bit of a lead, it becomes very difficult for his lane opponent to reclaim control over the wave. And so getting that Renekton ahead early, a nice advantage for G2 that should set up Broken Blade for success.
Yeah, if G2 can get their front line ahead, having the empowerment of Ivern, then they can really bully
Brixy 26 měsíců. Ty si naposledy chválil Hansamu, když jsi byl ještě v NIP, ty byl strašně prolhaný. Bro, doslova v evropské elici jsem ho chválil, celý split jsem říkal, že hraje mega dobře. Nemůžu za to, že se tady nechodíš, Brixy, a nedíváš se na ty streamy. A Shumini za 10 měsíců, jo, změnil jsem výběh, no.
Hansama, flash forward from Hong, looking to lock him down with the root and still manage to connect as Kanavi moves in. That's the pillar locking in as well. Jackie Love's W going a little bit wide here as Hansama tries to back out with the lantern. Denying the play. Lebrov ready to body block as well as Cream is moving forward, has access to the ultimate. The Spiraling Despair, Lebrov still frontlining Skewmon, the shields. Gonna keep him standing for now. Lebrov is forced to flash away. TES with control of the bot side rivers. There's an all-in top. Dominance already used by Broken Blade. 369 on the way out with the Whirlender. Should just be able to walk it off.
That priority on bottom lane, though, is going to result in full river control for TES. Kanavi goes off of the Dragon to look towards mid instead, but there's no flash on Lebrov.
Kanavi now level 6. Caps level 6 as well. Moving in right into Cream. Be able to find the 1v1 as Kanavi now starting to run. Caps can just take the ulti away and look to finish the kill. Kanavi forced to use the subjugate to stay standing.
Okay, kurva, nemáme damage.
Debating if he wants to commit to this, but it's Hong and Jackie Love on the way in. Caps quick dash out with the abscond. We'll just be able to retreat, but both sides fishing for these angles, looking for these plays.
I really thought Caps would commit harder, but he has much better map awareness than I do. Realizes that the bot lane of Top Esports is ready to collapse. They can probably collapse quicker, then he would be able to get that kill and get out. So instead, G2 choose to disengage. A lot of respect being shown towards Top Esports. He's going to steal the Karma ulti just to connect the Mantra Q to interrupt Cream's base. Nice little play there from Caps. He's not really going to have much mana though. This cannon wave going to force Cream to stick around for a little while longer, as it's actually bought time for Hansama to make his way towards mid.
Nechtěli Creamovi nechat Silasa do čtvrtý hry. To je reálný scénář. To je reálný scénář ve Fearlessu.
It was a scary situation in the river there. Hung with great awareness that tether range, as long as he flashes early enough, Hansama wouldn't be able to escape from. And in conjunction with Kanavi, it was so close to getting a big kill onto Hansama, but as you highlighted, Dracos, the use of this lantern, something we haven't seen, it feels like in years, coming to full effect here in Game 3 of this best of 5.
And the other big thing is, while Thresh can be a very feast or famine champion, if you're the team who gets to set up first, he can feel so powerful.
Yeah, same thing for Caitlyn and the Caitlyn traps. Nice little brush line here is going to allow the quicker stack up as well. Lantern safety is still there. Nicely done from G2. All 3 grubs acquired.
A bit of a misplay there, though, as Hansama and...
Broken Blade.
Just the cleanse out of Jackie Love, but both Skewmon and Hansama were in awkward positions there. Skewmon loses his flash as 369 ultis.
They're traded. Infernal Chain's miss, and 369 doesn't want to push any further.
Cap's going to quickly get away to safety. Has the TP available very soon. Keep your eyes on the minimap though. The rotation is going to come through from G2. This time around, it looks like they want to send Caps back to mid. They want to have Hansama go and catch that top wave. Dragon, it seems G2's more than happy to concede, as 369 is now fighting up against the G2 bot lane.
In respect to Broken Blade, this man is clearly very comfortable getting the short end of the stick, as he now likely has to lane against the Karma Ezreal, but instead, Top Esports don't want to stick around, don't want to push any advantage there, instead want to match lanes with G2. It's a moment of indecision. They did start the recalls, but they will now opt to stay in the bottom lane. Hansama and Labrov do their best to pressure 369 out, try to maybe get some of these plates down.
Ten na Erko je dobrý docela se, ale na koho to použiješ, jo?
Side of the map knows that JackeyLove and Hong are in a position to get ganked, but also gives him an opportunity to invade.
Má flash, má flash. Ivern tam je na to, takže tady nemůžu jebnout. Dobré, one-shot ta vlna, krása. Ale co ten cast proti tomu Creamovi, to je... To není moc playable, jako Silas do Heavy.
I think Top Esports know that with the pressure they have in bot, the wave clear they've got in mid, there should be an uncontested objective. Ivan hovering around mid lane means that 369 shouldn't feel like he's in too much danger.
Dobrá v tom, že ty musíš prvně nechat toho Trundla sát a potom ty vysaješ jeho. A budeš sát jeho víc, než on saje někoho jinýho.
G2's bot lane in the event of the dive, but Hans is more than happy to just play for plates right now.
And despite a difficult first few levels, right, where JackeyLove and Hong are able to put all that pressure down, Hansama and G2 have been able to bring themselves back in this game. It's a 200 gold advantage, but perhaps a bit too keen to take away some of these games. LeBron is there with the lantern. Can it get him out this time? The answer is no.
Ty vyjebaný Vardy, kámo, tohle by měli zrušit, že jde Vardy lampa. Potom by Trash možná nebyl useless champion. Kámo, já nechápu, proč to takhle funguje, že můžeš za Vardy tu lampu, to je sračka. Tohle je sračka. To je ten důvod, kdy se Trash přestal hrát. Trash byl non-stop hraný, ale v momentě, kdy prostě si mohl zavardit lampu, tak
likelihood to swap to try and match this bot lane, and he ends up getting punished for it. Hong in a great position.
A víš, co mě Trash bavil? Trash byl dobrý champion, hrál se s ním dobře na bot lane, ale prostě...
JackeyLove picking up that kill, very valuable for this Ezreal as he continues to work towards that Trinity Force.
While Broken Blade does have, you know, a decent individual lead,
jak to přesně funguje? Ty nemůžeš, ty když dáš Vardu na ten hitbox té lampy, tak ty klikáš na Vardu a hituješ Vardu a nebereš lampu.
Individual matchup is going to be a bit more difficult, and G2, we know what they can do when they find those root callers. They have this short range composition, if they get the setup, but it's still hard for them to find those angles if they're not pushing out these waves first. However, Hansama remains a thorn in the side of TES in the top lane. JackeyLove not in a great position to all in, and so just has to accept being pushed in.
You'll notice an experience difference being built up between the two supports. Labrov, a few more minions and that will give him level 6. There it is now secured, but Hong has spent a lot of time hovering around JackeyLove to get what farming needs. Kanavi running into Skumond.
Pozor.
Pillar not going to stop too much here.
Trundle ty vole s karma štítem, silnej.
Waiting now in the darkness, JackeyLove. Hong have to be careful here. Labrov, the threat range, going to risk the blind hook. Instead, knows that if they reset, they'll be able to fast push this top lane out and very likely take down this tier 1 tower.
Looks like it. I don't think there's much that Top Esports can do as they need to get the reset through. The objective's in a bit of an awkward spot as the first dragon was taken very late. Harold actually going to spawn before that second dragon. 2 minutes away.
Sigruby prokej, ten je huge, jako, to je huge.
TS hitting their double Trinity Force spike for both Trundle and Ezreal.
Oni svápnou na bot lane místo toho, aby vzali ty jedničku. Tady podle mě mohli fucknout tempo. Tady si myslím, že mohli pojebat tempo. G2 a vzít ty jedničku top. Oni místo toho tempo swapujou na botlane, aby vzali pláty, což si nemyslím, že je smart. Normálně je to smart, takhle tempo swapovat, ale ne když máš gruby a ne když je tam jeden plát. Imo není, tady trošku chyba.
Are G2 going to be able to land some of their single target CCs? You know, they have the Silas stun, they have the death sentence, they have Renekton flashing in and single target stunning somebody. And then Caps, if you're looking at him stealing an ultimate, is he gonna, you know, try and steal a Hui ultimate to try and make use of the big AoE slow? DS, I feel like they should be able to just keep up pressure And they are at least gonna trade top side for bottom side pressure.
A ty víš, co typci ještě vemou first turret, prostě legit. To je balík, to byl bad swap. Mega bad swap. Boha jeho. Proč nevzali tu top turetu?
I think Top Esports want to keep this going. Even with the Grubs advantage that G2 has, they're going to commit to the recall. Broken Blade really can't afford to approach the wave. He has his ultimate to try to protect it, but Cream is on his way as well. TP committed.
Aby nevzali tier 2. Ale tohle jim vyhovuje, protože oni tu tier 2 vemou potom a veme jeden člověk. Za mě nejlepší strategie je takhle ve třech nahitovat tier 2 na to, že to je třeba 40% tier 2 a potom ti to veme midař nebo topař těch 700 goldů. Ale ty dvojky už by neměly dávat 700 goldů, měli by to nerfnout.
G2 have committed 5 members to the top side. They wanted to use the redemption to interrupt the back, but the prediction of where they were didn't quite come through. This should be an easy cross map for Top Esports as 369 will be able to secure that tower. The problem for 369 is hook. He doesn't realize that there are 3 wards on the bot side of the map. TP is available for caps. TP is about to come up for Broken Blade. They could look for a very deep flank to get a collapse onto 369.
It's also 20 seconds away.
Heraldí to, 1000 golďásků. Givnout ty jedničku na botu asi a vemu Herald, vemu mid turetu a budou mít všechny 3 ty jedničky vzatý. Což je dobrý.
TES though see an easy angle to set up around this Drake. G2 aren't going to have any bot prio. It will be difficult if they want to contest this. I think more likely they just give it away.
Boom na mid lane, máš 3 gruby na mid lane, to vemeš insta. Ale nechaj draka, počkej, dvojku, tier 2. Tier 2, Herald na tier 2 s Caitlyn. Bomba. Okamžitě.
I will say that XP going the way of Top Esports.
Jako vzali druhého draka.
Mainly because 369 has spent so much time
a blbý je, že ta tier 2, že to sharuješ mezi 4 lidma.
As G2 pushing this top wave in with the Heralds. Not much the Top Esports can do to stop it.
Když to šerneš se 4 lidma, tak to dá 200 goldů každému, to není zase tak dobré.
Has to be so careful here. He is completely isolated from his team, and of course when I say
si
that,
pamatuju, jak AD carry bylo tak strašně broken, kdy ty si dával solo pláty a solo turety. Bylo strašně jednoduchý dát solo pláty a solo gold na turetě jednomu hráči na botu AD. Oni to pak nerfnuli a udělali to tak, že vždycky ten support máme šerné ty pláty a šerné ty goldy. A je to na piču jak blázen, no. Protože dřív to bylo úplně jednoduchý a bylo to strašně silný potom to AD.
Question is, are they going to be able to keep people in long fights?
Hraje Ivanu, má 2 draky.
The fights are the part I'm most interested about, you know?
Like, please fight.
Jsem se dají, jako Styles má Rocket Bell,
takže
zase dostane na hve, nebo na někoho zabije ho. Trochu se to bojím, že čím víc budou scalovat, s tím horší to bude, protože Aatrox.
Right now, with no objectives on the board, both teams will be prioritizing completing their items. Second items being worked across the board for both sides. But this Ivern, it's a champion that throughout my career I've always underestimated how much scaling he really provides. And often we see him paired alongside other enchanters or engaged supports even. But I'm just thinking about Caitlyn with an RFC, with Ivern on top. That seems quite scary to me the later this game goes, and we've seen that type of combination pop off before, so really,
v podstatě 4 milí čampů je broken. Jediný, do čeho není dobrý Aatrox je Caitlyn tady.
Is in such a fantastic position. The brush, the traps, the ease of hooks when you know someone is going to walk into you, the general lack of people who really want to face check or are comfortable face checking on the TES lineup. Of course, the same could be said about the Ezreal range, the play range. Neither side wants to be late to the play or have to walk into what the enemy team is bringing.
Vole, dubínka. Jestli si máš vybrat fightera, tak vybereš si, vole, týpka, který doslova zničil celý univerz, anebo, vole, dubínka, co tam běhá.
You know, because right now there's no real objective to play for. Mid is not an easy objective to siege on, and so I'm very cautious about how G2 play the map right now, because your priority should just be soaking up as much farm as possible. Caps is slow pushing bot wave to
ten fight je, za chvíli bude fight, který rozhodne hru.
To push because because there's no need. There's no objective that he needs to be present for. There's nothing that he has to go and force. Meanwhile, on the top side of
Ale
the map,
doufám, že bude dřív než později. Nebo upřímně, na 2-3 itemech budou pořád G2 silnější. Jakmile Aatrox bude mít 4 itemy, tak si myslím, že to je průser. Na Dubínkově závisí má hypotéka. Hraje šolko díl, než kolik mě let názor? Nemám na to názor. Zabijou ho, mají ho šanci zabít. Typek za ulti uteče, ne? Ty piču, triple dash.
Flash away from
to je dobrý gap close.
Knows that if that single piece of CC hits, that Daisy very likely means there's nowhere else to go. So Flash and ulti burn from 369, 32 seconds ahead of that Otacon spawning.
Would be surprised if
Infinity second. A Vern už má 2 itemy. Hranek to ještě nemá 2 itemy. Silas taky nemá 2 itemy. Ale na těch 2 itemech můžou fightit, jak budou mít.
And now he has to be so much caution on a side lane. That vision control on the bot side of the map very much in favor of G2, but the opposite is true for top esports on the top side. Good river control, wards littered, making it very difficult for G2 to see anything, and that's giving Cream the safety to push out that top wave as well. He's pushing as deep as he can. That top tower, remember earlier, took a lot of damage. But now he has to back away.
Tak, Silas monster
heading up towards the top side, providing more information and vision. Kanavi just going to start this one off.
They still have no vision control here through the tri-brush. There we go.
Tady oni
ví.
Všimli si toho, ne? Že to dalo damage ten. Jo, všimli si toho. Počkej, Kate dává base. Oni si toho nevšimli. Proč dává back, Caitlyn?
TP coming in from 369. Might not have flash, might not have ulti, but there to back the team up on the objective.
If they don't have Caitlyn, they cannot fight. So the timing window here for Hans walking back is just going to be too slow. This is for sure just TES objective.
Kamo to museli tušit, halo.
Recognizing the strength of their own composition, that they had enough control on top side to go for it, not waiting for deeper vision, happy with just that tri-brush.
Yeah, I mean, just fantastic setup. Completely suffocate the vision from G2. Have full control over the river, and then they use the mantra E to speed through the river, head straight towards the dragon. G2 is just watching from the top side after the Otacon has already dropped. Kanavi's going to be cheeky and even look to steal away the blue buff, and I think he's going to get it.
Skumon in no position to respond. Likely the third Drake to TES immediately following.
This could be the fight. Broken Blade's going back to buy.
Caps on the side, but spotted out by TES. Knockup is good from 369. Lancer going to pull him back. Decent ulti coming in from Jackie Love. Redemption. Right back up. TES pull away from the Drake, but Kanavi wants to fish for more. Pillar down in the mid lane won't have much effect. Connecting on the Hong, but Labrov stuns himself to throw it down, and it's a severing bolt from the skies to knock him down. Caps will fall as well as Jackie Love fearlessly shifts forward.
The Jackie Love engage. He will arcane shift into your face.
Ale víš, co je problém? Že my je prostě necháme vzít vision control, když mají outrange comp. Oni mají outrange comp a vole, G2 jsou Martin, oni nebojujou o tu Michelle.
G2 cannot approach
oni prostě nechcou bojovat.
They suffocate G2 away from the vision, they take apart their HP,
a dostali jsme outscale, GG,
this is why we thought this dress could very well be a liability.
A musí bojovat,
you can just arcane shift right on top of it as long as you have confidence
to dodge. Ale ty vole, oni nechají Atakana a pak ty vole tady jsou úplně late. Já nevím, co dělají.
No flash, chunked out, so they know Silas is out.
Oni se strašně bojí G2, mi přijde, že mají mental block.
He does connect it onto Hong, but then it's an easy chase down from Jackie Love and Cream. They secure a pick, they convert it into another one. And again, like the question comes back, how does G2 even really start these fights? And the way is, they have to be on the objective first. They need to be the ones forcing their opposition into them, controlling that space. But they haven't been able to do that this game as Top Esports goes to Salt Point.
Can they find a surprise pick?
Root Collar over the wall. Broken Blade immediately going to stun him. So much damage, barely gets a chance to push the stun again. Likely still going to fall. The shutdown is there. 369 running, but the second Root Collar crucially does not connect. So G2 going to be happy with that single pick.
TES can push mid as a countermeasure, but honestly, yeah, whenever you're in doubt, go into the enemy jungle and look for a pick. They do find at least one here, some money back getting Kanavi, but it's a little bit late.
Silas hodně nechápu. Bojuj!
Using the Daisy to siege the tower here, but without more threat on the Cream,
dive them!
Effortlessly deletes these waves. Daisy gives them a few more autos, but
Škoda. Ezreal Karma na midu, nemohli to nějak divenout. Flash dive.
Nemohli,
že?
The Horizon focus giving him all that extra damage. Ezreal ulti not going to interrupt any backs, but this Ezreal just continues to get stronger.
Appropriate, given the skin. And I want to go back to what you said earlier, Betty, because you called out something that I think we haven't seen yet, which is neither side getting picked off too much. I think arguably LeBron's
Když někdo udělá gol vtip na Ezreala nebo na mysl ultimátu, tak vždycky dám 3 tečky.
But the scary part is, TS have so much control over the mid lane in this pit that
Safarič máme šanci, ale nebojujeme teďka, nebojujeme.
Caps is on the long flank. Is this a good one or is this a bad one?
Bojuj!
Subjugate going to keep him healthy for a damn long time, but hasn't used it quite yet.
Ten Silas je taky useless a ten Thresh je taky useless.
The trigger seed and down goes Daisy. G2 bully their way into the river.
Ten první draft podhoven, tohle draft podhoven.
Well, they will get a bit of vision for themselves. Caps is going to go back to top lane to push out that wave.
Tvůj support ti řekne, piknem Thresh je to tady dobrý a ty na to prostě kývneš, jako to je illegal.
Caps is still fishing though as he clears out that ward.
To stejný se Silasem. Ten Thresh není bad.
Of course that mid wave is such a difficult one to siege. I'd be shocked if they just started off the back. Broken Blade now going to go back to bot wave.
Týpek v životě nemůže trefit hook.
Because he does not have that TP available.
Caps does get the ulti out of Kanavi. Had already burned the
ale je to event, 3 draci a takan pro ně, takže to event není, ale můžeme furt bojovat. Furt můžeme bojovat. Aatrox furt nemá 4 itemy, takže dobré. Zatím.
A very well controlled game from Top Esports. Their objective control has been incredible.
2 itemy teď máme. Teď můžeme bojovat.
And patience is the most important thing with a composition like this, and they've demonstrated it in abundance.
Yeah, and if you get an Ocean Soul on a comp that has
máme
so much
čas do
poke
4 itemů, na 4 itemech bude Aatroxing, no.
I don't know how you make your fights to actually kill them. So this
a furt je tady šance, že Jackie na Inky, jako Jackie je Inter. Ale s tím Ezrealem ta šance je fakt malá, no.
We talked about how much healing is in this game. Healing reduction is there for Cream. He has enough AoE to reliably proc it across the team fight. His only bit of healing reduction is on Broken Blade and doesn't really, unless he's in the thick of it, isn't going to be proccing it a lot of those crucial targets. And against an Ocean Soul, this might be a bit of a nightmare for G2. Again, you're already outranged, and now when they hit you with something, they heal.
První hru, co Free 69 nemá 10 milionů CS, protože ho punishli. On se v momentě mentalita hráčů funguje tak jako gameplay s tím Silasem. Tak v ten moment se začneš bát, že tě začnou punishovat, víš, a musíš začít hrát víc safe. Rektor má BB bojuje. BB má monster flank. Trapa, on ho vytáhl z trapa. Flank. Střílej, BB! Bacha na Aatroxe. Play safe, AD carry.
Caps is going to run for his life, but 369 still on the hunt, even though Caps survives. It does not matter.
Thresh to tam naintil, on vytáhl Trundleho
of their Ocean Soul.
It does not matter the year, it does not matter the game, it does not matter the team. The LPL Aatrox comes all the same. It is the fear of all European teams as 369 comes up massively into this team fight. A triple kill secured, a soul secured. G2 find a flank into the fight, but it still was not enough as Jackie Love and 369 navigate the fight beautifully.
Plus Labrov neměl i flashovat forward open na inkill. Kámo, tady doslova jakýkoliv jiný champion by tu byl GOAT. Jakýkoliv jiný. Ať je to Enhancer, ať je to vole Engager, úplně irrelevant.
Root down from Skewmont. Ulti's coming in, Labrov getting lower and lower. 369 will get isolated completely. The jungler deleted. Kanavi remains on the Baron. Caps hoping for a desperation steal, but it absolutely will not work. The Ocean Soul, the Baron empowering TES.
Potřebuji vidět ten replay znovu, protože podle mě Labrov to tam turbo naintil s tím edgem. Play safe AD.
Beautiful from 369.
Play safe.
Top Esports deny the steal from G2.
369 je mega dobrý
Top Esports is hunting
jako Keen a 369 jsou nejlepší topeři na Worlds.
is looking to go match point in this best of 5.
Lantern there, but TES running G2 down.
G2 by měli prodávat choker jako merch. Kamu ukážu ten fight, ale, protože já ti říkám, oni engageli moc brzo. Trash flaynul Trundla a dost Kate trapa. Kdyby Kate trapa hitla a kvůli tomu, že Trash flash flaynul, kdyby flash flaynul, tak one-shotnou to Trundla podle mě a vyhrajou ten fight. Jako ten fight šel úplně v pohodě vyhrát tam. Jenom prostě to nainčili. Bibi tam zahrál úplně monstrum dobře. A Silas je useless, no. Jako Silas a Trash. Silas Trash, kamo mít jakýkoliv jiný čampiony než Silas Trash a ta hra je win. Kam ale oni G2 vždycky intí drafty na Worlds a prostě nic se nemění. Dylan Falco tam už je vole 7 let v tom G2 bez tak.
The range discrepancy was too much for G2 to handle, and Top Esports go to match point.
Trash Silas byl
illegal. Incredible stuff from this lineup. A much closer early game, much more even. But playing their comp beautifully. Both of these teams have made mistakes in this series. Both of these teams have been caught out.
To byl stompek blázen.
Bouncing back beautifully as we send it over to the AD.
To byl draft gap. V podstatě draft gap. Game 1 a Game 3 draft gap.
Match point. First have their eyes set on that semi-final in front of their home crowd, and how did they do it? I think if you had to pick one reason why they were able to overcome G2 in this game, is it as simple as one misdecision by G2?
Potom jaká moje pozice AD a mid.
I think it's always two faults in these situations.
Yeah.
Ale musíš sledovat CCčko, kdo použije jaký
had an opportunity to accept that, but instead double down. Because I think the initial setup on the first play that I think tilted, or we all think tilted the game, was all TES. I think they had a really good read there, and it was a very smart setup that then, unfortunately, led to the collapse of this game.
Yeah, I think it just all comes down to the Atacon play, to be honest. I think G2 had set up the game really well early. You get the early kills, you manage to set yourself up, but when you get to the position where you just window shopping at Atacon, it all falls apart.
You want to break my heart again in 4K?
Yeah, I'm very sorry, but we have to do it, because I really want to highlight here, because TES are immediately full sending it on this Atacon.
No tohle bylo illegal, bro, tohle bylo legit illegal.
If you look here for the case,
šakelské je kůze dalších 500, ne.
Kurva je! Kurva je!
Kurva je!
And a real issue is not here. Here you're outmatched.
Kurva je!
You're not able to do anything. But it's G2 still committing. They're still going. They got the IE and they're looking for the fight. But look at the other cut. It's already gone. So now, TES have first move towards the Dragon.
Tak 2.16, 2.15, kočky, actually bylo to 2.14, 2.15. 2.14, 2.15 jsem investoval do krypta půlku svýho networfu, pak jsem viděl, jak se můj network zpětinásobil. Pak jsem viděl, jak se můj network zase minus 80%, tak jsem měl trošičku stres. A mám z toho bílý vousy a vlasy. Plus esport. Kolik jsi měl Ethera? Měl jsem 10 bitcoinů a 200 Ethera. To byla bomboklad. Bomboklad. Ale pak jsem to prodal všechno, když jsem prostě nebyli Diamond Hands, guys. Nebyli Diamond Hands.
Sorts of games that I have seen G2 lose is where they find themselves without much agency, even though they're doing okay, they overplay somewhere where they don't necessarily have to, and conversely, the enemy is 2 steps ahead.
A prodal jsem na úplným bottomu Classic.
And if you're a TES fan, you're like, see, I told you my team was smart. They could do it internationally. See, this is what you see all year. And then the fact that they actually do it in the game is,
ale to bylo 2.14, 2.15, to je hodně dávno, ty kokos, to je hodně dávno.
I was convinced that G2, at least from the beginning, might have had a chance, but this was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. You've already just right in front of Seoul.
Já jsem měl jenom 200 Ethera, kecám, měl jsem jenom 200 Ethera, ale v té době 200 Ethereum bylo 10 bitcoinů. Nevím, co by to bylo teď. Tak Ethereum, já jsem kupoval Ethereum za $100.
The big thing for me was actually G2 had a wonderful start, and a lot of that was coming off the back of Skewmond on this Ivern, which I think caught people a little bit unaware, or at least Top Esports unaware, because he's only played it 4 times in his career. It's not exactly a champion you commit to Skumond on, but in this sort of
si úspěšně projevila 40 milionů na dnešní peníze.
Copying their own homework from a couple of years ago, but the school has changed.
Mohl jsem být milionář.
When we go ahead now, the jungle matchup maybe, Chronicler, I think Skumond versus Kanavi was a big point coming into this matchup. Someone who is relatively untrained
Takže si vlastně projebal Porsche a bit. Mohl jsem mít bit, Porsche, hotový život.
Partially, I've also really seen both teams make a lot of decisions in draft that feel a little questionable to me. I think this Skumond Ivern game,
já už jsem s tím smířený, mě už to vůbec nesere. Ale sralo mě to dřív,
but the early game pathing was good, which has been one of his biggest criticisms. I'm looking more towards that Silas for caps. That for us didn't really hit the mark. I felt like there weren't a lot of great ults to steal, and we didn't really see him have the impact that he historically has on the pick.
If I want either of these teams to have success, though, it is coming down to...
Jako faceless mage ne asi, kámo, jako bejt milionář v Česku, a.k.a. mít 1 000 000 korun v dnešní době, to je vle auté Škodovka nová ctíze, vole. V realitě jde o to, jestli jsi dolarový milionář nebo ne, to je kde je ten. Plus v dnešní době mít $1 milion, jako je to mega insane, ale už si taky nevyhrál život. Dřív mít $1 milion, tak jsi vyhrál život, nemusíš nic dělat do konce života, teď potřebuješ tak $2 mega, abys nemusel nic dělat do konce života.
I did hear that G2 will now finally move on to the blue side, so we're going to see a different plan in this fourth game of Fearless, which sometimes I think shouldn't you be on the red side for that?
Dobrý, Gábku, nepřipomínej mi to.
Like, for me, red side becomes stronger the deeper you go into Fearless. So
they must have some priorities that they absolutely want to drive home.
I understand the swap as well.
I get it. You got to try something else. You got to mix it up. Otherwise, it's going home for G2 Esports. Whether it is for TES,
kdyby si dostal nabídku do G2 a dal bych dobrý podmínky, šel by si. Ty vole, no. Jako asi jo. Jako? Jak se to snaží jinxnout, ne, Shots. Ale musel by tam hrát Caps a BB. Dlouhodobě, další třeba 2 roky, co bych tam byl. Místo Hansama ne jako trenér. Jo, mít mega CZK je nic, radši budu mít 1000 korun českých. Ne, tak jako říkám to objektivně v dnešní době, když jsi v Brně nebo v Praze a aby si skoupil vole 2K byt, co má 40 metrů, potřebuješ 9 mega, tak jako by mít mega ti moc nepomůže, chápeš? Ale nebojte, Babiš dá 1% hypotéky a ty byty nebudou stát 9 milionů, ale 18 milionů a bude to všechno v pohodě. Vyřeší se bytová krize, let's go, všichni budeme mít bydlení. Volte ano, volte ano. Už si složili vládu, jsem slyšel, ne? Konečně. Safari dík za 500.
Kurva je! Kurva je!
Naklonu, já vemu DNA Safaričovi, šakilskýmu. Naklonuju je a všechno v pohodě. Ale dneska se přidal Azazel. Krásně. A ty Knight taky. Ahoj, Aleš projebal Kněžínek. Tady máš cinkačku na to projebané Porsche, byt a důchod. GG. Kdyby chyby. Musel jsem, nebudu lhát, musel jsem jít k tomu, k psychologovi, na pár sessions, abych se z toho dostal, ale už jsem v pohodě. To byly krušný časy, kámo, jsem spal, každý 2 hodiny jsem se budil, abych čeknul graf a takový píčoviny, to nikomu bych nepsal. A to jste ještě nevěděli, že k tomu Ethereum jsem měl 250 Binance coinů. Jsem kupoval Binance coin za $2. Za $2, bro. Co tě okradli? Ne, já jsem to prodal, když bylo... Kolik mohl být Bitcoin tehdy? Jsem to všechno prodal, protože to bylo moc stresující. Víš, že to nebylo zdravý, že jsem na to furt koukal na ty grafy a tak. A koukal jsem na to, i když jsem hrál jako skrimy a tak. Mal jsem bojovat, mal jsem Diamond Hand jsem měl mít. Teďka investuju, ale strašně jako mě to naučilo ta éra toho krypta, to 2.14, 2.15, 2.16. Mě naučila to, že já jsem strašně risk averse. Já jsem jako úplně šíleně risk averzní, já nemám rád risk. A jako investuju, ale investuju strašně, jakoby strašně non-rizikově a strašně málo. Co pro tebe znamená riziko? Všechno. Eat my sand, to je dobrá, to je dobrý ten. Budu žebrat do konce života, přesně tak, Safarič. I am once again asking for your financial support. Otočí to ještě G2, klidně může. Klidně může. Ale zatím moje predikce jsou docela solidní na Worlds. Na Rvíku nemám vymyšlený, jak budu draftit na Streamer Clash, nemám. Karpání tunel jsem neměl. Já jsem měl posunutou lopatku o 5 stupňů a posunutý levý bok. Reverse sweep je, jo, reverse sweep je jenom z 0,2 na 3,2. Co to je za lyrics? Díky bohu, že můj táta nenosil kondom. To mi něco připomíná. Co mi to připomíná? Co to bylo? Ten klip MG Fitmana se máma tě měla polknout, nebo jak to řek? Přítelkyně se teď zeptala, kdo si nepoznala background, takže si random prej. Kdo jsem? Nebo kde jsem? Kdo si? GG. Random checknout od přítelkyně. Tu hnedka do draftu. Jarvan Aurora, Azirunara. G2 Blue Side.
Jarvan, Aurora, Yunara, and Azir are already taken off the board.
Sion seems to be the pick that G2 want to get their hands on. With the Jarvan ban taken away, heavily
týpek tady řeší, že 200 Ethera nebylo 10 bitcoinů. Bro, vole, řešíš hovna, bratře. Měl jsem prostě 200 Ethera, měl jsem nějaký altcoiny, měl jsem hodně altcoinů. Když jsem to měl v takový té kalkulačce, že to vypočítá, že to trakuje portfolio, tak když jsi to překlepnul na Bitcoin, tak tam bylo v jeden moment 10 Bitcoinů. Je to jedno. Můžeš mi věřit, nemusíš mi věřit, je to úplně jedno. Ale řešit tady ty, proč to řešíš? Morde, ban, Aurora, Jarvan, Morde, to je zajímavé. Proč banou Mordeo?
And I think due to a lot of the more creative jungle picks, we have an unusual amount of solid junglers within the meta still available. You highlighted the Jarvan being banned, Pantheon a Champion.
Ale ne, víš, jak jsem se cítil, když jsem měl 200 Etherea a Bitcoin dal all time high na $20,000 a Ethereum furt bylo na nějakých 400 a pak teprve dala Ethereum na 1400. Draven first pick, ty pičo. OK.
But to lock in Draven first pick, wow.
We were also saying we wanted more proactive gameplay.
Ale dobré, early game, potřebujeme early mid game agresi. Ziggs do toho piknou. Nebo co do toho piknou?
I really do love the Ziggs response though. It's a very safe, good wave clear. I would prefer the... Okay, I'm a little surprised to see them shift in this direction just because I felt like Ziggs was such a safe option in response. Zyra Khan likely going to be the lock-in for top esports as they get themselves, at the very least, a strong bot side.
Jackie's most played champion in Split 3. Obviously, the Ziggs felt like the safer pick. Instead, it seems like Comfort is the name of the game.
Lefek si nevíš, jak to bylo v těch 2.14, 2.15, 2.16. Ale jak říkám, tam to bylo, že Ethereum byl lager jak svině. Draven, Niko.
I just feel like you didn't need to be much more proactive.
Budeš dneska hrát solky, ano.
And be fairly slow, it has not looked great at Worlds. And so this is a look that I think is much better for them. You get Nico, that is guaranteed.
Jaký botlane je schopný přehrát tyhle dva ptáky, jako Zyra Khan? Zyra Khan je jedna z nejslabších laning fází. Ironicky dřív to byla nejsilnější laning fáze, ale teď je to slabá laning fáze. Takže Draven Neko bude vyhrávat. Poppy, OK. Budeš dávat reakce na medalonky streamerů bez Streamer Clashi dneska. Eren Neko, dělal jsem to včera.
There's no way they voluntarily pick a buy into a Poppy though. That would be quite the surprise. Nefiri makes a ton more sense.
Nefiri, of course, Kanavi not afraid to play the AD assassins.
Nefiri, ale mají červený wallpapery. Mají dobrou synergii. Barevnou.
All right. Question is now mid lane, I guess, becomes the focus.
Cassio, okay.
As Cassio gets banned away from G2. A little surprised to see the Cassio ban come through. I'm trying to think what that could mean. Perhaps another...
Taliyah to me. I mean, you mentioned it at the very beginning.
Yeah, true.
But I think the Taliyah priority could be very high, you know, banning that out as well.
Ale Nefiri tady nebude dobrá do Poppy, ne? Manželský pár a jejich pes, to je geniální, no to jo. Přišel jsem si poslechnout názor na draft a slyším jenom keci o barvách. A čo jako?
Senpai Behind donates 100 korun český, G2 win.
Senpai, děkuji za kilečko, G2 win, jako G2 to, líbí se mi, že draftí tak, jak draftí teď, protože Game 1 draft byl hovno. Scaling na piču. Game 3, absolutní dog shit, prostě Silas trash. Když tam mohli vzít Kate Nico, a ne prostě Kate trash.
At least the very least the conventional choice.
Scaleway Aurora, dobře.
Completely taken out of the pool because he was played top lane earlier in the series, so Cream's gonna need to dig
Aurora je v banu.
A solid angle here.
Ajaj, Safarič nabil blerpy, ajaj. Viktor Zyraken na Fury, to je dobrý, tady by to byl dobrý pick, ten Viktor.
Does it make sense here? I feel like it's a little slow for both sides, but with the mid lane pool going the direction that it has, it feels like that's just kind of one of the best options that you have. Scaling mid,
Kate byla minulou hru, no právě, že měla být Nikos. Kate byla minulou hru.
Good wave clear. But the question is,
Kate posloucháte vůbec, co říkám?
Syndra now the lock-in for Caps. Obviously a champion who can be really frustrating to lane against, considered incredibly vulnerable, but was buffed. 2 seconds off of the scatter the weak cooldown. Makes her a lot more of a threat. Showmaker himself, that was his biggest
Syndra Oriana.
We didn't see the champion more. Caps may be feeling similarly as now the Ornn
jako je to early mid game comp draft, přesně to, co G2 potřebujou. To se mi líbí. Ten blerp to je, že si nabiješ $25 na peněženku a pak posíláš blerpy a až když posíláš blerpy, tak se mi jako přičítají peníze. A blerp, nevím za kolik je teďka nastavený blerp. Viktor Gnár. Tady se mi líbí jako, hele, Tes mají lepší scaling draft, ale mně se líbí G2 draft víc.
I will say though, as good as it is in the matchup, I feel like G2's composition all kind of wants to do the same thing, hit the target that's in front of you, and with a Poppy, the ability to just remove someone from the equation,
bere blerp? Já mám pocit 10 nebo 15%.
Just their ability to start fights is definitely there, whereas for top esports, they've kind of got a skirmishing jungler with a scaling mage,
Orn, Poppy, Syndra, Draven, Niko. Tady je strašně moc tools, co můžou jako G2 dát outplay, vyhrát proti Tes. Tes mají prostě takový ten mid to late game scaling comp. Ale ty tady máš Niko, co může smurfit, Syndra, co může smurfit, Poppy, co může zaultit prostě někoho a vyhrát tím fight. Strašně moc. Čauko, Brian, nemám sestavený tým na papíře.
Evropský Wolf, koskejte. Co vyhrát a otočit. Wolf, ať mi Siox může pořádně sednout na obličej a dát ochutnat její keksy. Jo, paní Sioxova, pořádně mě budete drtit obličej za to, jak je to rozjebou. Scooby-Doo.
S tímhle se nespojuju. S tímhle se nespojuju. Brian, ty už to máš sestavené, že? 40krát. Spojuješ, nelži, nespojuju. Zguby je zase nadržený, nevím, co mu jebe, někde tam hárá fenka a já za to prostě nemůžu. Viděl jsi, co dělal Brian v noci? No, viděl jsem ho s Foxovou. A pak s Ivetkou, já ti říkám, ten typek prostě normálně... A předtím tam měl ještě nějakou jinou holku, Brian to střídá jak ponožky, úplnej bowler. Prostě čudlík, pár centimetrů, 1,50 m, ale je to jedno. Máš slávu, IRL fame, jedeš bomby.
Top esports have control over the game, so we'll see how
Včera
they
měl
navigate
3 holky na
through the game.
streamu, cože?
And remember, top esports, of course, a team that has always been held in high esteem, but has always fallen short. 2020 was the last time they were in semifinals, the same last time that G2 was there as well. The pressure is on for them to close this out and to look convincing, because the competition only gets tougher from here.
Sioxova, můžete mi domluvit Lauru. Pro dětka je smutný, že miju vás, paní Sioxova, ale už končí, že
co to je zase SpongeBobe? Kolikrát jsem ti říkal, ať nevylezáš, vole, ven. Hansama ztratí milička, ne? To si děláš prdel.
So there's one minion, there's 2 minions, and that's 3. So he's just lost half a wave. 369 is gonna clearly get level 2 first.
But have you read Draven's Q
můj bože, to není Dogo Draven, guys, to není
Oh
můj bože, oh můj bože, oh můj bože.
Is enough for 369 to take full control.
Vrox díky za novou tyričku, chlape.
Kanavi is not done with it. The dog is back in his own jungle and he's trying to sniff out the Poppy.
Ale proč se tam vždycky dějou nějaký divný věci, vole? Z cheatů. A veme mu všechny golemy.
Feeling much healthier overall.
I love that from Kanavi. You just grab your level 2 off your wolves and then go back to just aggressively fight this Poppy. This champion here has so much damage early on in the game as we see.
Brokeblade rooted. Unstoppable not keeping him standing as LeBron and Brokeblade doing their best to hold on here.
Dobrý, ještě že Cookie je tak broken. Týpek si dá Cookie a vole, Zaya mu dává menší damage, než se Cookie healuje. Ty pičo, ten Kanavi ale ví, jak smajtovat. Kámo, Kanavi prostě vždycky smite stylne všechno.
Damage threat here versus Poppy. Now he's got level 3 advantage.
Skewmont dashing through.
A misnul ale 2 kvéčka, kdyby tam nemisnul ty 2 kvéčka, tak Poppy musí flashovat možná.
Especially the Q2.
I mean, really just great awareness from Kanavi. You're already singing his praises, Kobe, and I really just want to double down on that as they continue to put the pressure down onto this Poppy in the early game.
No to ne. To ne. On jim to zase zebral. Kamo, Kanavi je takový prase do piči. Ale Kanavi je strašně dobrý early game jungler.
Just completely locks Skewmond out of his own
jungle.
Huge clap back here for TES.
Cream getting some very nice trades in the mid lane as well, leveraging the early.
Kam on mu zabere celou jeho jungli, Kanavi.
Finds himself isolated on the bot side of the map. Farm-wise and experience-wise,
legit zebral celou jeho jungli, full level advantage.
Back into lane, but so much of this series has been about early game control. And G2 wanted to get off to an early game lead. They wanted to deny camps away
tak sledujte, by the way, sledujete momentálně to, co bude dělat každý dobrý jungler špatnému junglerovi ve streamu Clashi a ta hra bude instantně over. Ale tady to Skewmond comebackne. Skewmond to comebackne. Comebackne to.
He wants to go protect his Krugs as well here, so as Skewmond was able to take away second spawn of Raptors, he knows it's too dangerous to stick around again at those Krugs. And Kanavi again will be able to defend it and pick it up. Hung as well has come over to help out as far as the 2v2 goes here for 369 to allow him to safely pick up the cannon.
But a really solid start for the side of TES. You highlighted it so well. Making the most of the bot lane 2v2 advantage, getting Prio, really shutting Skewmond down. Long taking a bit more damage than anticipated, but we'll heal it back up with the Gleaming Quill, and the map state definitely heavily favoring TES.
Ne, tak v pohodě ještě. Jako bez prdele, fakt, jako Poppy to tady comebackne. V jungle je tolik neutrálů nebo campů, že ty prostě dřív ten counter jungle, když bys tohle dřív udělal, tak ta hra by byla over, protože by neměla co Poppy farmit, ale těch campů tam je tolik teďka.
And Kanavi also got a reset off, so you know, having the extra inventory here really helps out in clear speed and is going to allow him to clear out those camps you're talking about, plus then pressure for possible even early dragons for TES. Reset does come out for Skewmond though.
Fnatic evaluating top lane opportunities. Oscarin is available on the market. No, neměl dobrou sen.
Double daggers, trying to take at least a few. Skewmond poked out a bit as vicious for the angle.
Jako kuše to ty čoklové. Oscar měl dostat replace, no. Už ten split předtím, nebo 2 splity předtím. Ale potom zase v playoff hrál dobře, tak já nevím, no.
Even though his bot lane didn't even have that much prio, he's just like, hey, this Poppy really can't do anything to me. I'm not afraid to fight him in the enemy jungle, and maybe I can put him in an uncomfortable spot. And to be honest, I feel Skewmond is quite uncomfortable with the.
Proč Hansama na konci evropský LEC má životní formu a teďka zase ne? Nevím. Upřímně fakt nevím. Choukuje prostě. Jako v Evropě hrál mega dobře Hansama. To jsem ho chválil, že to je nejlepší hráč G2. Což se dlouho nestalo. Ale teďka na World zase turbo inky. Ale Hans je známý tím, že choukuje, no, že prostě stresík se do něj... Stresík mi nedělají mu to dobře, stresíky.
Typing timers, fair. Someone might have in all chat said D to dance. We can check that with production.
Let's investigate further. Rewind, enhance. Let me get the call.
Mickey prejde do SK. Jo. A Sven prejde do SK nejde, ale měl na streamu SK Mikinu jen tak. Tak já nevím.
Now, however, Caps just trying to clear out mid as best he can. Obviously, very easy for Cream to trade early on. Caps wants a few more shards. Really would love to upgrade that Dark Sphere at 40 to get the extra charge.
Chat, když Sven říkal, že AD carry je useless role, tak už je to real, nebo to není real? Jsem se díval na jeho stream, týpek to nonchalantně řekl, že AD carry prostě je odhoven role. Furt to není real, ani když to říká každý AD carry streamer, co existuje na Twitchi.
Delayed him. The Ornn is actually kind of slow to the bottom wave at the moment, and 369 is working away at a turret plate down there. So he's got the extra pressure already applied.
G2 though, taking the time, hoping that they can get control of the grubs. Have the Scuttle Crab down.
700 byl děsků.
Decent damage there. Skewmond potentially ready to
jungle top advantage klasika.
To Cream to find the stun. Sama getting ready to fight, but they're at a man disadvantage for now. Skewmon and Caps on the way up. Remember, the Draven, the potential gold income from the stacks could be massive, but Hansama zoned away completely right now. They recognize the window of opportunity. Kanavi immediately gonna go forward. Hung not able to find the knockup. Clever use of the rogue charge from Skewmon. Hansama off to the side.
Draven tu je silnej. Draven tu je silnej. Boom, first blood pro Dravena, let's go.
And the first blood to G2.
Kanavi wanted to
steal away BB to možná přehání trošičku.
Kanavi still running zone away from the objective. LeBron pretending to be a melee minion.
Gnar tady bere celou bot turetu. A Gruby, takže kámo BB zase bude tak behind. Free 69 v tomhle je strašně dobrý, že prostě ví, kdy fightit, kdy typovat a ne. Týpek tady prostě zebral celou turetu. Bude ahead jak blázen zas. Jaj. BB je v situaci, kdy se strašně snaží fightit a strašně se snaží pomoct týmu, protože ví, že to je jakoby, už je tam ten mental gap, no. Už mi přijde, že prostě BB je v takové situaci, že když nic nebude dělat, tak mu přijde, že prohrajou a proto se tak strašně snaží hrát agresivně. Juntal Draven, tak to vidím poprvé v životě.
Hung flashes to knock up Skewmon, but he uses Kanavi to get away to safety. The gravity field tries to slow
Nechci být zlé, ale myslím si, že Juntal Draven je komplet odhoven. Ale třeba mě to překvapí.
Spells Kanavi. No access to the ultimate, so won't be able to chase, but they do get the flash from LeBron. Crucially, we've seen that the teams that are
kterou linku se dává nejvíc hypercarry momentálně, musíš v kompetitivu. V kompetitivu je strašně open mid lane, top lane. Jungle není tak OP v kompetitivu, ale je to hodně důležitý, ta jungle. Solo queue, nejvíc broken, mid lane jungle na top lane. Ve streamer clashi za mě bude nejvíc broken jungle, mid lane a pak top lane. Ale top lane bude taky hodně silná tento streamer clash. Protože předtím top lane nebyla tak buffnutá, nebyl tak silný. Co ADC? ADC ve streamer clashi nebude špatný, ale nebude to nějak jako super dobré. Rozhodně to bude ve streamer clashi mnohem lepší než v solo queue. Jako AD carry ve streamer clashi bude tak dvakrát lepší než solo queue. To solo queue je unplayable za AD carry.
And keeping track of those break points there for Caps.
Caps though, gonna get ultied up by Kreen. Tries to zone away, just get control of the wave, but ulting for wave clear means you won't have it.
Support,
still 4 minutes away from any major objectives.
Support je hodně důležitý v kompetitivu. Ale jenom tehdy, kdy je prostě, kdy to fakt jako gapuje support. Třeba Peter to gapoval hodně. AD carry ve streamu clashi oproti minulému roku slabší. AD carry je teďka hodně slabý.
Finds himself in a similar position to game 2, obviously not as far behind, but being zoned away.
Nebo bych řekl bych asi tak o něco málo slabší než v minulém streamu clashi, ne o moc. Objektivně.
And you can see Broken Blade immediately just rushing armor. It's so fantastic for the lane matchup, but also makes the dive a nightmare for Kanavi.
Musel zaultit.
This is usually why we talk about split damage types being important, as we see Jackie forced to ult, traded with Hansamas.
Jaký je problém s AD carry dlouhodobě? Itemy.
And it all kind of stems from the early breakpoint they achieved off
Itemy jsou velký problém.
You saw the teleport down to the bottom side from 369 that allowed Broken Blade similar situation on top side where he pushes that minion wave in and Victor.
Ale největší problém s AD carry jsou solo queue, šernutý XP, musí buffnout a itemy.
Ulti available, as is the flash. G2, they've got Skewmon on the way, but
našli ho. Další killík.
Does connect onto 369.
Počkej, Hans.
Skewmon now coming in. Hansama forced to flash away. 369 manages to connect with the wall. Flash
forward,
G2 into the wall.
Pomožte.
Here comes Kanavi. 369 playing with patience, punishing G2.
Oh, 369 is insane. He alley-oops into the wall for Kanavi to clean it up. Comes down and gets 2 kills onto the Neferi. That is absolutely insane.
A proč má ty vole Juntal? Kdyby tady měl Blood Trister, tak se aspoň healuje trochu.
Excellent patience demonstrated by Top Esports and getting that kill on
nejlepší AD carry era si myslím byla 2014. No, season 2, 3, 4 byla nejlepší AD carry, jako bylo nejvíc OP AD. A potom na asi půl roku potom, co vyšel Durability patch, tak bylo Broken AD. Jestli si pamatujete, jak nerfli damage, nebo jak buffnuli všechny chumpy, HPčka buffli chumpů. Tak to bylo dobré. Ale potom okamžitě nerfnuli všechny AD itemy, buffnuli strašně šernutý, teda nerfnuli šernutý XP, buffnuli solo XP. Tam bylo tolik změn, které prostě udělali z top lane strašně broken roli a z mid lane. A nerfnuli AD. Arden meta, to bylo support meta upřímně. OK, počkej, jeden killíček. Ale to je všechno. A tureta, počkej, a teď je půl, vole.
Really want to be bot lane. They TP to bot, Broken Blade assists with the kill. He'll help his team get the first tower of the game as well. Cream will be left isolated top to pick up farm where he can. But was Top Esports now being the proactive players looking for a pick on the gas in the bot lane. Turns as Broken Blade arrives with the good TP.
Yeah, the good TP. Ultimate, they get the kill, they get the first
Dobře, Batmane, ale potřebuji tvůj tryskáč, já nemám tryskáč. Batmane, potřebuji, aby se mi teď před barákem přichystal helikoptéru, která mě zaveze na tryskáč.
Cream, the victor, getting some extra money in recompense for TES.
And I mean, the gold is so close. First item starting to be completed across the board. Very different from the previous game where it felt like G2 were kind of compositionally being bled out, didn't really have a lot of angles of attack. Both teams setting their sights on the Drake and the Herald. Perhaps just a trade of objective, but maybe G2 want to leverage the strength of this Draven to force a fight.
I mean, right now, the Draven isn't that much scarier than Jaculad is. Does, of course, have that BF sword.
Outscalem s orientem má.
Upgrading his boots. It looks
mid
like
game jsme silnější, v late gameu ne.
I will say is a bit of a surprise compared to the BT that we often see.
Ale Syndra je dobrá do Zaji. Zaja tady bude mít strašně problém dávat damage.
Navigates his way around that. But the vision battle begins once more. The Herald is alive. It's G2 to start off this objective as 369 looks to secure another tower for his team.
369. Jen koupíš za ty tvoje bitcoiny, nebo mu aspoň
ale já nemám už ty bitcoiny.
Či kouš, jinak si tě v noci najdu.
Ne, Batman, ne, já
My big question is going to be how can G2 play
Batman, potřebuji tryskáč do pátu vrátím.
With this Gnar having Trinity Force already for 369. I know he is going to allow TS early moves on a lot of these objectives by pushing in one lane. There's not a lot that Broken Blade can do about it except kind of like collect the wave once it gets up to the secondary tower. And it does
Infinity Edge Juntal, jako budeš mít dobrý damage, i když reálně máš vůbec větší damage s Juntalem.
Syndra
ty potřebuješ AD na Dravena, jak Junta dává kolik AD? 45? A BT dává 80, to úplně.
So G2 kind of have to cover this side lane. They have to overstack and they have to leave Broken Blade on the weak side of the map in order to really play through these side objectives. Caps will secure that tower, equalizing us.
Teleport play here. They're trying to pincer
369. Máte naději. Syndra TP, double TP, matchou to. Dobrý, maj ho. A Vektor TP ne... Maj ho, jo, maj ho. Mám naději. No, upřímně, neměl jsem naději, ale mám trochu naději.
Close to going mega there, but the teleport from Caps is good. That's how they're going to attack the side lanes. They teleport the Syndra in, they 2v1 it.
They also get Cream's teleport, which is just an extra advantage gained for G2. They will swing the gold lead ever so slightly in their favor, but that's what this game 4 is all about. These small swings back and forth. We're still waiting for that big momentum shift as objectives are still ways away.
I mean, 2 minutes, just about 3 until that Otacon. Usually the make or break point for so many of these games. Remember how important the flowers are, how important that experience could be for Broken Blade on this Ornn. The items he's able to give out. And for the side of TES, they found some good picks, they found some good angles. Kanavi is 2-0-0, but it just hasn't
been consistent when it comes to these fights. To hraju, když chci mít zábavu, když for fun hraju tenhle skin. Ale když tryhardím, tak beru blue skin. Juntal dává 55 AD. Kámo, to je problém s AD itemama. Ty prostě máš AD itemy, který dávají méně AD než top lane itemy. Prostě jakýkoliv top lane bruiser a item ti dá 60 plus AD.
This minion wave should in theory be enough to get it for him. Wait, did he actually get that cannon minion?
I'm going to say yes.
I'm going to have to say yes as well. All right, he's going back to base, so I'm going to assume that he did. Empowered recall, and we should see The Infinity Edge now
A tam je, teďka je mega silnej teda
víme. Yeah, his Yuntal is already fully stacked up, so he has the full crit from that, plus IE.
Ježiš, teď jsem přišel, zase brečíš. Ježišmarja, tak tady máš 14 denní bon. Nechoď sem dál, neboj. Už se ani nepamatuju, co jsem říkal. Chtěl jsem mu dát permu, ale měl 1000 plus messages, tak jsem mu dal 14 dní.
There's a lot of things that he has to be cautious of. The route from Lebrov,
prosím, ban, ne, nedávej mi ban, ne.
And then of course Broken Blade's ultimate.
Tady je to cenzura.
Very decisive around which one he uses his ulti in response to, as G2 will be gunning.
A co jsem to říkal? Proč jsem brečel, nebo co jsem, jak jsem brečel? Já už to ani nevnímám.
Very early armor penetration for himself.
Jo, že jsem říkal, že AD dává málo, že AD mi dávají málo AD. A to není brečení, to je objekty, já říkám, neutrálně říkám, že top itemy dávají víc AD než AD itemy. Tady jediný, kdo tady dá podle mě carry je Syndra, pokud někdo. A nebo Poppy dobrá ultimátka jak svině, ale Caps smurfí. Caps je ty vole Magor, co tady jako zatím hraje solo.
Look at bot lane though, Cream doing what he's been doing very well throughout this series, just playing through these side lanes, pushing out what waves he can, collecting farm.
Ale Capsovi věřím, ty vole, pokud někomu, tak Capsovi.
He holds on to the XP lead. Cap's going to be a little late to go and catch this wave, as Cream is already back.
Koukám, že cenzurčan dorazil už i na tento stream. Jak mocný Blerponec předpověděl ban za pravdu,
he is almost at the 100 for the execution for his ultimate ability. It's not going to be ready for the Otacon fight though.
Skimon's already started this objective. The TP early used by 369. Both teams looking for a brawl.
No control over the opposite side.
Atakan snižuje armor magic resist. Bacha Draven pozice. Hank má mega flank. Tady tu je mega flank. Oni jsou 3 lidi na grupovaní. Pane bože, proč?
The Forge God called, Broken Blade exhausted, knocked out G2, hand delivering the objective to the side of TES. 369 wants a bit more. The Hyper procs coming in, scatter the weak, pushing back TES, but G2 losing so damn much.
G2's hopes come
crashing down as Otacon is
stolen. Oni to úplně turbo ztratí. Nejhorší na tom je, že se 3 lidi grupnou na sebe. Aby od toho Atakana nedostávali damage, tak jdou melee range do Atakana a pak ty pičel... Victor, Freeman ult, Rakan, Freeman ult.
Nekecej. This Victor a full level up over Caps, accelerating into the mid and late game.
Oni jsou v choku prostě
G2. We were saying what will be the fight that really breaks this game open, and I think we just saw it. Top Esports now with a huge advantage here in game 4.
Dívej, jak oni se grupnou, Rakan, oni vidí, že tam ten Rakan je, on jde skrz miniony a grupujou se jak dementi. A pak samozřejmě, že Victor zaultí a dá... To je ale disgusting,
I think G2 just played way too fast. They funneled themselves into this narrow choke. We go back to live.
369 likely to fall here. Caps
laying
down a good bit of damage. They're going to give the cash out to Han Sama, crucially. Big chunk of gold, 1,000 immediately into his pocket.
I completely agree as far as the Otacon fight though, Vedius. I mean, G2, they position themselves.
Trochu bojím, že jako Draven ten damage má, ale dostane one shot od všeho. Že nemůže moc autoatakovat v tom fightu. Že Victor Rakan.
And they're the ones who start out the call must have been that they could like burn it down really
Rakan nic neudělal, tam solo Victor tam dal jenom ult a Gage, to víš jak v momentě, kdy jeden čampion jenom nebo dal dvojdívečko ult a ta hra byla prohraná, tak víš jak moc to pojebou, že začínají do Atakana. Ale fascinovalo mě, že oni prostě ví, jak ten Rakan flankuje, vidí ho prostě na minionech a pokračují s tím Atakanem.
Top Esports, I will say they had a 2K gold
fakt nevím, co je napadlo. To legit.
But that's just because Han Sama did cash in.
Han Sama's printing money right now. He's causing massive inflation. This is all very misleading. But
Draveflation.
Yeah, Draveflation. The Coinbase gold grind. Obviously, the others is actually his passive gold. You can see he's already earned 1640 from it as Lebrov looks like he might be caught out here. Chase coming in from Cream. Nice rocket belt to get it.
Victor nemá ult, to je huge už.
G2 don't really have an angle to push any further, just a trade of abilities. And Labrov able to walk away with his life.
369 coming in from the flank though.
Not gonna be able to burn him down. That is one tanky Gnar. Kanavi there as well. Hong now has the ultimate waiting for the W from Skewmon. Excellent patience to the Poppy on G2.
The TP is used by Broken Blade. He's gotten involved in the fight. He has his ultimate, but he's hesitant to throw it out. Top Esports just playing with their food.
Hele, tady se fajtí, ale oni hoši.
The feather pole from Jacula,
Oni se tu fajtí.
from Cream. Hansam has enough lifesteal that he starts to heal back up, but neither side wants to pull the trigger on the engage.
Jako nemají armor, nemají ninja taby absolutně proti Dravenovi. Mají tam Mercury 4 týpci.
It feels like they have an easier time playing through these side lanes, and we're also seeing it in the experience. Top Esports pretty consistently in this series have just kind of been higher levels than G2, and it's because of how well they play through their side lanes, picking up what farm they can. But you look across the board, level advantage in favor of Jacula. He's very close to level 14.
Já úplně čumím, ale on každou hru staví.
Skewmon 2 levels behind Kanavi, who's just been power farming on the Rift. And 369 in a similar position with a level up as well.
Typci nemají absolutně armor, krom Gnara Randu.
Could have given G2, could have balanced the scales, but it's only put these solo laners further ahead when it comes to overall XP. As Labrov is pretending to be a melee minion. Wasn't very convincing, but thought it might work this time around. As TES, that Baron just a few seconds away. G2 know it, trying to get a bit more control. Tries to read the dash over the wall, but Kanavi not caught out.
Si myslím, ten Dogo build by to byl úplně mega dobrý. Protože pak se nemusíš jako ve fightu bát všeho a nedostaneš one-shot proti všemu. Ale zase, s tímhle buildem, ten Draven rozdá raketu damage. Ornn upgradey itemů jsou mega good, vždycky jsou mega good. Proto je Ornn jako strašně dobrý. Předvěříte G2?
The 3-item Draven, something that I think Top Esports will be very wary of. A minute until Dragon, the Baron alive.
Ne,
Potentially you're talking about Kobe. This is do or die.
Já jim, kamo, jim začínám věřit a to nevím, jestli je špatně nebo dobře. Jako tuhle hru celou dobu si říkám, ty piče, to je 3-1, to je over. Ten Draven ale nemá moc damage a je level 13. Přijde, že tomu Viktorovi dal auto-attack a nedal mu to damage.
Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, 369 shadowing, waiting to move back into the wave, matched up against Caps. He's not feeling too bad, but doesn't have too much MR to his name either. Is G2 ready to fight over the Raptors?
Will go the way of Kanavi as he continues.
Hans prostě dá jeden auto-attack, dá to damage, ale dostane za půlku HP laserem. Jak zabil Viktora, no to fakt nevím, kámo. Jako Viktor má 3000 HP. 3000 HP a Zoniu.
No, it's denying the brief window of opportunity, but it is important, right? Red buff across 5 members.
Týpek nemá ani boty dostavený, jak může mít damage. Bro, boty jsou attack speed boty jsou nejhorší item ve hře. Niko, Labrov, ult! Zaud je! Kurva, nedali damage. Co je slownulo? Ten atakant dal slow? Hans nemá damage.
Top Esports hold the line. The engage from G2 does not set up the fight that they were looking for, and the response was brutal. Top Esports find 4. 369 is going to take out Caps.
About to go Mega. One more Hyperproc giving him the extra movement speed. One more auto, the boomerang to get it done.
Buff top lane.
369 finishes the job, and TES will take the Baron.
Kanavi smurfí, no, Kanavi je mega dobrý. Když oni engagenou, ale Syndra tu není vůbec, není ready na follow. Niko jde in, ale ty vole musí zabít Viktora, Viktor to flashne. A je to GG. Poppy ult taky funguje, ale nic. A pak ta Poppy Ornn tam jdou deep a nemůžou nic, protože to dobře disengageli. Hrozně dobře to disengageli, no.
Baron still empowering TES, but you said it right. They thought they had the angle. They thought they could kill the Nefiri. They didn't have the damage in the right place, and the entire fight fell apart.
I mean, Jacula and Kanavi, all they had to do was flash away, and that was enough. G2 then couldn't chase the rest of the fight. Top Esports played it patiently. They had a very nice re-engage, and you have to feel like that was the final fight of the series. A 6.5k goal lead for Top Esports, a Baron buff as well, another pick onto Labrov. Things are falling apart for G2.
Ulti coming in from Kanavi. Goes intangible and Caps just gets cut down.
Dobrý, si mu dali, shutdown dobrý.
TES overeager, the shutdown for Hansama, but the pressure still mounting as the tier 2 falls. The Baron still there, empowering the remaining members of TES. Just a 1-for-1 in the end. The gravity field coming in too. The ulti to follow. Hung with an ulti of his own, looking to lock down Hansama, who for now is untouched. The lifesteal is there, and he's living for an extra moment. But here comes Jack.
Zaja! Nikdo ji nefokusuje. A Cream neumírá prostě, kámo. Jak to, že prostě Viktor neumírá, guys? Level 17 týpek. Ty medaři mají tak strašně moc HP, že to je nechutný. Já se legit bojím humanoida v té streamer clashi. Kamo, jak chceš zabít midaře, který má prostě 4000 HP a Zoniu a Mercury? Jak to chceš zabít? Ten týpek má větší damage než ty, jako AD carry, a má dvakrát víc HP než ty, a má Zoniu a defenzivní itemy. Hodně se bojím humanoida ve streamer clashi, kámo. Ty piče, ale dobře, Kana vyhrál mega dobře. Tuhle hru. A G2, tyjo, byl tam vidět mental gap.
Jako sorry,
bylo vidět, že jsou prostě mentálně ovlivněný hrou.
Stejně porazí Rakan GG.
And TES will return to the World Semifinals.
Jo, a Free 69 turbo smurfil, no. Jako Free 69 a Kanavi, top jungle gap v tuhle sérii. Úplně turbo top jungle gap, no. Řekl bych top jungle gap a mentalita gap, kdy prostě G2 se snažili dělat playe, který nemohli vyjít.
Here in Shanghai, a 3-1 victory. It was convincing. After the game 2, when multiple members were getting caught, the haters and the fans alike started to wonder, is this going to be another collapse? But you're so right, they stayed the course. They kept that composure, even in messy games, even when Hansama got the shutdowns, when the Draven started to snowball.
Zítra je Anyone Legend Steven. Ty kokos, tak to bude krutý. Tak to bude krutý. Ale je tam vidět, že prostě ta mentalita, no, že kluci se prohráli proti svý vlastní hlavě, mi přijde G2. Mentalita je na téhle úrovni nejdůležitější věc.
To měli být, teďka mi Siox odejde pryč. Snad aspoň ke mně.
Ty blerpy, to je náhle se
but he probably didn't live up to his own expectations when we come to this best of 5, and we'll be able to talk about that a little bit later. I do first want to shine a light on the victors here, Dagda, for a team that has been heavily scrutinized when they have stepped onto the Rift internationally, for a team that has been doubted at times in terms of if they could close the door. Their individuals stepped up and they had a sovereign performance.
And I think they did it in the style that they were known for in the LPL as well, which was this control. They just take over a game. They are very solid when it comes to objective setups, how they approach the macro, and being able to find that success in these moments, and then letting the team fight live. There was a couple of individual players that really stepped up across the team when it came towards those fights, but
jako ten Draven, můžu vám říct, že ten Draven byl úlet.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it was a series that came down heavily to decision making, right? And they seem to be the team that was always making the better choices. They're the ones that are putting the pressure on the objectives. They're the ones that are going to autocon at the correct moments, setting up dragons at the correct moments. And I just felt like they played a really kind of calm, composed series.
Confident series, I want to say as well, because you're right, Barrett, you see that from a team. They kind of exuded as they were walking on the rift, knowing that, no, we have the right reads, so technically we should always win in these positions, and they did. I will say, G2 dropped the ball a few times at some of these objectives as well.
Včera jsem to nechal spuštěný a hodilo mi to strašně moc copyright strikeů, takže já na to prcám. YouTube vypínám. Pokud se koukáte na YouTube, můžete přijít na twitch.tv/freecz. Pánové, takže vidíme se na Twitchi. A já půjdu na solo queue. Potřebujeme natrénovat nějaký jumpy, který jsme ještě netrénovali. 15 000 damage Draven. Miko dala stejný damage jako Feedlay Draven skoro, jo? Jenom by the way, guys. Vidíte to? Já nevím, jestli to vidíte. Nevidíte to.
They were doing fine in that final game.
I agree, they were doing fine, and I think if you compare it to their highest performance this year for me, which was the finals back in Madrid, it was a cohesive unit, and I think this is about reps as much as it is about other things in the game.
Yeah, and I agree. I think it's the fact that it's the first time we've seen Skewman at an international event whatsoever. The first time we've seen LeBron hit it to the quarterfinals, and it's about trying to find those moments where you can have the experience on an international stage. And unfortunately today, there was parts where they just couldn't quite stand up. And G2 will go and look back and say, okay, could we have done more? And I think the answer is going to be yes. But it is going to be that growth. And I think that's the thing about G2 is that they are willing to invest in a roster and run it for a long time to make sure they can actually find that success over multiple rounds.
I mean, they wanted to get out of Swiss, and they did. We have to give them credit for that, for putting up a good fight here. But a matchup we were talking about so much coming into this. He came out on top despite good moments out of Skewman. He is your Oppo player of the series. Azael, you set this up beautifully before the match, and it panned out.
Yeah, I mean, I just think he is the best early game jungler in the world. He is so creative in his path. Přes den hraje Aliena, v noci tam haňtí prostě kriminálníky. Worry about where he is on the map at all times, and he really executes in the team fights as well. And you could see in this.
No nic, hoši, tak jo, já vypínám livestream na YouTube, papa YouTube, když tak přijďte na Twitch.